The name is Law Nation. This is still Victory Monday. We're still going to keep the same format for the week. Appreciate you all for still watching the film analysis. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. At least we ain't talking about the draft time. Cowboys playoff, possibility, matchups, expectations, and more. If you're live with me, let me know. Let me see some blue hearts in the chat as we build this up for today's episode. Your midday sports reports and analysis from yours truly, Law Nation. Mama said there'll be days just like this. Come on. Hassan, you the first one on the YouTube. Y'all catch up. Come on. Appreciate you, Clifton. Let's go. Fill this room up, baby. Let me know if y'all can get these notifications in. We should have more people than this. Fill this room up. Shout out to you, J. Versic. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up? What's good? Appreciate y'all, man, so much for tuning in. The name is Law Nation. Without hesitations nor deviations to the matter, I appreciate you guys so much. We got a lot of things to uncover, a lot of things to go over as well. Now, granted, every game is valuable. All of these games are valuable. That's a better way to say it. And the Dallas Cowboys, heading into the final week of the year, we still got to win this game. There should be no talks of this and that. We got to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We got a lot of things that's on the table. Likely there would be a situation if the Eagles beat out the Giants, then we'll be sitting in our same spot. If the 49ers went out, we'll be sitting in our same spot. So there are things that we have to uncover. We got to now hope that other teams lose, right? That's what we got to do, unfortunately. That's the situation. Now, the Cowboys playing a team that's already eliminated, and that team eliminated are the, what's the name of this team? Okay, the Washington team, and they got their new mascot and everything. I can't make this stuff up, y'all. I can't make this stuff up. It's a layup for me to talk about those teams, man. It's a layup for me to talk about them. They done went and got a pig as their mascot. They went and got a pig. Let me repeat for those that's way in the back, as their mascot. And that's funny to me because now when we do play them, I got to find me a new drop for those boys. You know what I'm saying? I can't make this stuff up, Cowboy Nation. It is what it is when we see these type of things. Where is it? Hey, where they going at, baby? Where they going at? Give me some, baby. Wait. Where that pig at? Where that pig at? Get that pig up out of here. Get him. Oh my gosh, man. Hey, man, I'm trying to keep a good composure, man. But come on, man. This is a clean layup. Hey, we're going to be fighting all next year. We got an eagle. And now we got pigs over here. I can't make this stuff up, man. The marketing is terrible. And they even had one of the greatest safeties I've seen in my natural life, on this time around. Sean Taylor. I mean, they put some straws up and put a jersey on them, a wire straw hanger with some jerseys. I think it was chicken wire. And they put the jersey on them and said, hey, that's the statue tribute that we're going to pay for Sean Payton. I can't make this stuff up, y'all. So for all of the Cowboys community, if you think you're having a bad day, if you think you're having a bad time, don't you know that at least we're not like the Washington Pigs? The Washington Pigs, man. Oh, my gosh, man. This is a layup for us, man, to talk about them. Now, we got to face them. We got to face them. We got to beat them. But, man, I can't put lipstick on the pig. I think that they've been listening to my show, and they've been listening. And the Washington community been saying, you know what? We'll make a great situation. We're not talking about the hogs that they had back in the days. You know, we ain't talking about those boys. But we're going to utilize a full mascot to be a pig. I can't make this stuff up. Y'all smell that bacon over there? Let me play it one more time. Oh my gosh, man. Somebody shut that pig. Lean forward a little bit. Just slap that pig. Oh my gosh. Just lay it up for me, man. For the next 6 or 7 years, man, they're gonna be using that Washington pig, and it's gonna be a great situation for us, man. I can think of the thumbnails now, but neither here nor there. All right, let's get back to football. I just had to say that before we get this show on and rolling over here, y'all. The Cowboys are looking at this thing in this moment to be one of those teams that we will have to say, can we stand tall in these last few games and
their NFC playoff picture with 1 week to go. Eagles still at the top, but things are getting real dicey on the left side of the screen. After losing to the Saints, the door is now open. 3 teams have a shot at the 1 seed, a bye, and home field advantage. That is such a heavy gift to have in January for Philadelphia. All they need is a win against the Giants in Week 18, right, Sean? That's all they need, and they've got it. If they lose, though, 49ers, they just need a win against the Cardinals, and they would jump from 3-1 and get the 1 seed. Cowboys still have a shot, too. They have to beat the Commanders and hope that both the Eagles and the 49ers lose.
All right, so when you look at this sheet right here, of course, the Eagles are 13-3, and they got a playoff berth, of course. They are in the front seat of all of this, and it's down to the last game that they got to win it all, right? And in order for that to happen, if not, it will be the San Francisco 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys in that spot if we win. The Minnesota Vikings don't have that chance nor opportunity, I believe, at this moment due to their losses or what have you against certain opponents in their conference. When we look at this right here, Cowboy Nation, we shot ourselves in the foot. Let me repeat, we shot ourselves in the foot. The Jaguar game hurts more than it is right now, and also that Green Bay Packers game hurts more than what we can imagine right now, especially being up. And this is me giving you guys some objective analysis here. You know, I don't want to say, well, you know, it is what it is at this point. That's the best way I can say it from here. That goes to show you that next season, I don't want anybody to be like, hey, man, you know, it's a layup. No, it's no layups in the NFL, but you want to win all of your games, and this is the reason why. And when we look at that, we can also look for the battle of the number 1 seeding. The Eagles still control their own destiny, right? All they have to do is just beat the Giants, and they have the number 1 seed, right? There's no one that can catch them. And with that same stroke of opportunity, the 49ers, they will have the number 1 seed with a win versus the Cardinals and the Eagles loss versus the Giants, right? And they will have the number 1 seed. And I can hear my brother right now talking about bang, bang, Niner gang, right? And then the Cowboys. In order for us to get that number 1 seed, win at the Commanders, and the Eagles and the Niners must lose. that is the situation there. And this is what it is. I can't paint another picture. I can't fabricate anything, Cowboy Nation. This is where we at. This is what we can see. And the Cowboys are fighting for that spot, even to the tail end of the final game of the season. And that's just what it is. Now, granted, I said about 4 or 5 weeks ago that there are only two teams, in my opinion, that can give a run for the Cowboys money, and that will be the Niners and the Eagles in the playoff, right? Playoffs. I'm talking about playoff, and a lot of people scoffed at the ideal of that. Now that we're seeing that also, old ghosts, old bones are in the way, and those are the two guys that I need to bring up for this talk or this conversation, and that's Aaron Rodgers. They're lurking. You see that lurking right there. And Tom Brady. Those two guys right there been a thorn in our side for a long time. Not a short time, a long time. And I refuse to say I'm in fear of facing those boys. I'm not. I'm not playing. The Cowboys are. So we got to figure out a way. I don't care what seed we are. First seed, second seed, Johnny Appleseed. It doesn't matter. If the Cowboys play their brand and style of football, the only team that the Cowboys lose to are the Cowboys. They got to have in their minds that they can't shoot themselves in the foot. They can't. Look, we was up on Aaron Rodgers, right? We was up on Aaron Rodgers. But that old ghost, man, come back to hunt us. Ghosts, man. And I ain't talking about a Christmas past. Them ghosts be just coming out. And the skeletons of the closets with Tom Brady that we got to make sure. That if we get Tom Brady down to the ground, just understand that you got to make it comfortable for him because the aficionados, he got them in his back pocket. You do. But the only way in playoff caliber of football, that dude forgot more football than most of the players in the playoff times for the Cowboys even know. And I do like the aspect, if we on a roll, right? Somehow we got to determine that we are the underdogs, right? We had to determine that we are the ones that everybody's overlooking. It seems and appears that the Cowboys play better in that light. And I know I get some pushback from that, but let's listen to my people over here on 105. Let's see what they have to say.
Cowboys better positioned to win in the wild card round than they were last year, and why? Is it personnel? Is it mentality? Is it toughness? Or are they exactly where they are or where they were last year?
That's a tough question because, and you guys are more than welcome to weigh in on these questions on the truckwreck.com fan text 877-881-1053. That's 877-881-1053, or on Twitch or YouTube. You guys can weigh in there on this stuff. I think they're better equipped in a vacuum to win in the wild card round than they did last year. The only question I had, because I think they are a tougher football team, they haven't been able to just get smacked in the mouth and lose games like they did last year. The only question is, if you want to talk about very specifically, going up against the 49ers.
Right.
Do I think they're better equipped to beat the 49ers than they were last year? No.
All right, before he go into his soliloquy there, shout out to Bobby Belt, shout out to Sean and RJ and that whole panel there. Here's my thoughts on it. It's an any given Sunday. Ain't that right, Uncle Charles?
Sacrifice, don't give up the fight. Everything will be all right on any given Sunday, yeah. Depend on
you, baby.
If you win or lose, you know you got to pay some dues to live on Monday, yeah.
We just saw the Raiders give the Niners a run for their money. Are we better than the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? Are we better than the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Now, the Niners did pull out that win. I was like, God, dog. I wanted the Raiders to doggone do that thing for us, man. Come on. Do that thing for me. 21. I thought the Raiders were going, boy, I was going to have a miniature celebration or a celebratory phone conversation with my brother. I was going to be like,
21. Can you do something for me? 21. Can you hit a little rich flex for me? Then 21.
Yeah, can you do something for me? Come on, man. But the Niners pulled that one out. But there's some holes in that, some holes in that situation. And I can tell you all that they are getting better. They got Armstead making plays. They got Talano doing his thing. That defense, Bosa and all of those boys, they're good defense. It's hard to take away from what they've been doing. It is. But I was watching this past weekend the movie Avatar, By Way of the Water, and one thing I can tell you, that in life, you just got to prepare yourself to fight. You just got to prepare yourself. If you're going to fight, just stand your ground. Don't run. The dude, I think his name was Jake, the Avatar. He was trying to run. He was feeling with his family. He became a family man, and he was trying to protect which was valuable to him. Now, what he didn't know that when you run, there's always going to be someone chasing you. And they're going to continue to chase you until they find you. So the ghost was still chasing him. And all he did was made matters worse. Why, Law? Because now he ran to the other side of the planet, world, whatever they was at, and he included some other people into the battle that had nothing to do with it. They lost thousands of people just because he was scared to fight. He wasn't willing to stand his ground. And all he had to do is go into the mindset and say, I beat those people the first time. Why we can't beat them the second time? And the Cowboys got to have that mindset too. They can beat those boys. Now, they never beat Tom Brady before. But dang, they made them bleed, So they got to figure out a way to stand their ground and fight. All of this is running away. Now, we want them to run, but not run away. At some point in life, you got to face your challenge and look it right in the face and say, all right, the demon, the beast, the pitfalls are us winning in the playoffs. We shy away from what we did that won us games in the regular season. Right now, the Cowboys, there's no team in the National Football League that won more games against winning opponents than the Cowboys right now. There's no team in the National Football League when we hitting on all cylinders score more points than the Cowboys. What are our pitfalls right now, ladies and gentlemen? Interior, right? We can still get off to the edge, create pressure, but we don't have interior situation. What are our other issues right now? Turnovers. Dak Prescott, I'm saying it like I know, I get it, right? Ball bouncing off the phalanges, right? And it's picked off. But also, being too aggressive at the wrong time could also be a situation for you. So when we get to the playoff, there are things that we have to uncover. Maybe they have a person like me somewhere in their locker room and say, all right, this is what we got to do. These teams that we're facing, we can't have these levels of errors. Because when we lose these games, if we lose this game, there's no tomorrow. There will be literally this talk right here. There'll be draft talk. And 33%, or I think it's around at 40% now, will be gone. The NFL is a year-to-year league. You lose anywhere between 30 to 45% of the people that's in the room with you. So the people that we are fighting with now, we need to have our backs against the wall and know that there's no sunlight for tomorrow. We got to put everything we got into this. Now, yes, they're coming. Yes, they're finna to invade our land, right? We was eating our oodles and noodles. I was watching the Avatar movie. They was sitting back chilling, no issues at all. You know, they had good food. They were raising the kids. They even had a guy, you know, who wasn't even in the Avatar. He grew up as a baby, you know. I can't tell y'all all of the movie, but he grew up as a baby, and he had the mask on the whole time. He was kicking with the avatars, you know what I'm saying? Just chilling, eating the fruit of the land, having a good time, no issues, no worries. But then they saw a star shining, you know, in the light. They knew that it was playoff time coming, baby. That star was shining bright. And then they were like, our good time is over with. Oh, no. You should have been preparing. I would have been so ready. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have the opportunity to not be prepared. I would have been preparing by the time that ship would have tried to land. I would have already had my troops. I would have already had my legions of people ready for them. Yeah, Avatar by way of water was really good. But they panicked. They waited too late. They allowed those people to settle down in their lands, right? One thing about guerrilla warfare, for those who don't know, yes, the opposing threats were big, but the people, they knew the terrain. They knew the land. They knew the pitfalls. So that's why they whooped our butts. You know, shoot, they knew the lands. They knew the areas. You know, they knew how to attack. They knew where the soft spots at. So the Cowboys, looking back for all of these weeks heading into the playoffs, what do we do best that no one else could do? 13 personnel, 14 personnel, right? What do we do best that no one else could do? Create pressure. Take the ball away. There's no team in the National Football League got more takeaways than us. Yeah, so those are the things that we have to uncover. Let's play some more of this audio. Let me know if y'all following me. Give me a thumb up if you're following me. Give me a blue heart if you're following me.
I would pick the 49ers today if they were playing them. And so in that sense, because I think the 49ers are a different football team, I think they're better. So in that sense, no, if you line up and play against the 49ers on Wild Card Weekend, even if it's at AT&T Stadium, I think they probably still lose that game. And so in that sense, no. But in the sense of just in a vacuum going up against physical football teams, are they better prepared for that? Yes, they are. They're a more physical team. They've got some nastiness to them that they didn't have last year. And even though they're not the most physical team in football, they are a team that can handle that physicality a lot better. They're more prepared. They're not just going to get, they're not pushovers like they were at times last year.
And some good points coming in on the truckwreck.com text line 877-881-1053. The 646 says the same or slightly better because of the Pollard usage.
Yeah.
So maybe the run game comes into effect here in the playoffs, and that split, that they've really found that harmony between Zeke and Pollard. We've talked about it all season. That could be something that could really benefit the Cowboys. The 903 says depends on what Cowboy team shows up. And really, it's one of those cliches that is absolutely true with this team because you saw it all throughout last year, and it's really what plagued them and threw them into a loss in the wild card round was, that Denver game was the benchmark. Kept getting brought up. Is it going to be the Denver Cowboys, that show up, or is it going to be the earlier, like week 4 team, the week 5 team?
Which anyone who...
All right, so, I do like this point from Army Mom. She says zero respect for Dallas, right? And even if you're a big Avatar person, right, if you watch those movies, part 1 or part 2, I think they're going to have like 4 or 5 more parts to it. I think docile were their biggest problem. The people, the Navi people, or whatever the original name of the people, they were too docile. They were too forgiving. They were too, let's allow these foreigners to come in to invade us, to take our resources, to take our land and get more and more resources for them and these sorts of things. They should have been hostile. They should have been fighting at every moment. And that's what the Cowboys should do. They should look at it just like this. These people that's invading our area, we must fight. We can't allow them to get too comfortable. We got to shoot, continue to throw weapons at them. I know we got a bow and arrow, a slingshot, and they got the machine guns, and I know we only got the machetes. But we gonna every night we're gonna be shooting our bow and arrow at them. Every night we're gonna have somebody with a slingshot. We're gonna build holes so that they can, when they come through this area, right? When they come to this location, as primitive as we are, we know our terrain. They chopping down our legacy. They killing us. You know, they cutting down our trees. They reformatting our lands, right? We're gonna fight for it, right? We're gonna do whatever we can. And ultimately, when they started to believe in themselves, and even though they had an inside guy who fell in love with some of that Avatar stuff, you know what I mean? He fell in love with it, and he knew how to attack them. That should have been the same plan the next time around. But they saw and they had the feelings and emotions that the enemy was coming that was stronger than them, that they ran. And the Cowboys got to be just like that, the inverse way. They can't be running away from, oh, man, we finna face the 49ers. Oh, man, we finna face the Eagles. Oh, man, we got to worry about the Packers, man, for what they did to us in the past if they found a way to get into this playoff game. Oh, man, we got to worry about Tom Brady. Oh, my goodness, man, he been scalping us left and right. No. Fight. Fight. Fall still fighting.
Played physical like Denver did, got the result Denver did.
Exactly. And, you know, they said that they found the formula, and they surely did. 903 thinks the Cowboys come out flat too far often, which I think is an intriguing it's an intriguing argument when you talk about the playoffs specifically, because good teams aren't going to allow you to come out flat. You know, they're going to take those defensive stops and they're going to score.
Shout out to you, Kevin, with the super chat. Thank you so much for the first support of the show today. Appreciate you, man. On this Victory Monday, rooting for the Dallas to win the division. F those Eagles. Yeah, I got you. You going to shoot them down, huh? You going to shoot them down. There you go. Get your gun together, Kevin. There you go. You got him, Kevin. You got him. Yo.
You know, teams like the Eagles, they're going to score on a defensive stop more times than not. Teams like the 49ers, their defense is too good to allow you to come out flat because they're going to turn that into a rhythm. They're going to turn that into a pattern. They're going to make it a trend to where you just won't score as often as you want. So I think that's a good point there.
Yeah, and you've got a couple of people weighing in on the YouTube chat here. Joe Taylor, who is the self-proclaimed #1 Tolo, says, I think we'll be better because of experience and being on the road. I doubt we'll have 14 penalties again, trying to overcome 3rd and long all day versus an elite defense. You've got Jose Christian, who says, didn't the Cowboys cover the spread against the Titans, with a little thinking emoji, so thinking they played better than that. Joe Taylor also says, y'all realize we didn't lose 2 in a row all year. Kenneth Knott says, why is it that if any other team has a major injury or deficiency, that's their excuse? If the Cowboys have a deficiency, we gave to man up, or we told to man up and overcome. The goalpost gets moved all the time. Kenneth, that's a decent.
Yes, indeed. That is a good rebuttal right there. And shout out to you, Chip Hall. He says, untrue law, you don't read the chats with the attached stars. Unfortunately, the restream doesn't highlight those who give with stars, and I appreciate those who give with stars or what have you. But if you want to show support to the nation, you have to jump over to YouTube, and it will give us an indicator. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that for the stars. But Russell, I can see that you made your support, and Chip Hall, you says, let's go Cowboys, for your support. But you know, I'm only dealing with the tools I got, man. I'm a one-man show, man, and due to the platform, they don't embrace the Facebook people, man. Unfortunately, man. But y'all know I love y'all Facebook community, and I really appreciate y'all support and the way you guys share and beyond. It's just me, man. It's just me, man. Unfortunately, maybe we can reach out to Streamlabs to talk to a person that do the encoding and maybe they can do something like this. See how beautiful this light is right here, Stelios. How long did it take Philly to Green Bay, San Francisco to get rings? How long did it take Philly, Green Bay, and San Francisco to get rings? Expound on that a little bit more for me, Stelios. I don't know, man. Appreciate you for your support, man. It took them a long time, though. Get your bars up, media. It would be nice if we could get home field and help patch up some of the slow starts. Salute. What I'm trying to say here is this collectively speaking, both all valid points. But what we can't do is run from it. When you're up against the struggles, meet it squarely face to face, lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, and take a base. So what I'm trying to say is, regardless, whether or not we the 5th seed, 4th seed, 1st seed, Johnny Appleseed, we got to figure out a way to when we fighting, whether we on the road or at home, is to let them know that we are the mighty Cowboys. And we can't run from it. Don't let your nerve desert you. Keep yourself in fighting trim. We got to continue to do those things. John Jones, appreciate you. And Chip Hall, appreciate you, man. Thank you, man, for understanding, Chip Hall, man. And I appreciate all of the Facebook community, man. I'm going to do my best, man, this offseason to figure out a way that we can, embrace the people that support on Facebook. And I'm glad that we are able to see your comments up here as well. But the Dallas Cowboys, look, we have to understand that in the last, 20 years or such, although we've been watching the Super Bowl, I think that you have a chance in the playoff. I don't know. Somebody give me the ratio. I'm just going to go off of a hunch that there have been more teams that won the Super Bowl that's not been number 1 seed. Let me know if I'm wrong, because I'm just going off of a hunch. I'm just going off of my first thoughts here. Because we had the comfortable seat in 2016, right? We were the number 1 seed, and we was out of there, like, God, dog, man. And then in 2007, we were the number 1 seed, and then we got bounced up out of there, right? And in 2014, I think we were the number 2 seed. So in my opinion, the seed don't matter. The seed don't matter, man. I just want us to get in there. We in there. And when we in there, we looking at what we got to win 4 games. Show of hands, have we ever seen this team go on a 4-game winning spree, right? We played 3 games in 12 days. And I think we won all of them, but probably lost 1 out of the 3, So you just gotta go in there and just look at it. I just want when we get to these playoff games, I want the 4-ladder, 3-ladder, all of the ladder networks to continue to say, hey, the Cowboys don't have a chance. The Cowboys are a team that's going to fold up in the playoff. I want them to continue to have the same language, right? I liked it when Mike McCarthy stood tall and said, we are nobody's underdog. Right? Even though they had us listed as the underdog. I loved every bit of that, because for 20 years, well, I ain't going to say for 20 years, because Parcells, they knew not to see. Whoa! They knew. See, the media know how to punk certain people, right? But they knew not to ask Parcells some dumb questions, right? Parcells will make them their babies right then and there, right? But the last time we had any coach to push back the media was Parcells. And before Parcells, it was Jimmy Johnson, right? And you can put that in 3-inch headlines or what have you. We're going to win these type of games, blah, blah, blah. But we've been so docile. We've been such a doormat for all of these years that it'll trickle down to a third of the fan base. So we don't talk with our chest no more as a fan. Collectively, We have credence and validation to other teams, right? We give, like what the caller just said, every excuse for the books for Pat Mahomes' INTs, for Josh Allen's INTs, right? Come on. But they knew how to pick up on Jason Garrett, and there's no shade at Jason Garrett. He's still my guy, right? I met the man. He's a wonderful guy. But Jason Garrett would never say, we're nobody's underdog, you know. He would have turned red. How you doing, guys? You know, that's what he would have did. He would have been in clapping mode, you know. That was his default signal, like, how you doing, guys? You know, so they bullied that man, and we had to take it for at least 9 to 10 years. They bullied doggone, what's the guy, Wade Phillips. They bullied that man all. They chopped him up. They chopped that man up on national TV. The man only had one losing season. They were ready to get rid of him to insert Jason Garrett. They fired the man before the season ended. Who knows what would have happened, although we got blown out in most of those games.
Decent point. I think that that's just the reality of any fan base. Like internally, any fan base tends to look at themselves and what they're missing and not what they have. And they don't tend to do the same when they look externally. You know, whenever like if Philly plays Dallas, like when Philly played Dallas, it was all about we don't have Jalen Hurts, and how are we going to be able to do that? And it wasn't looking at guys that Dallas may be missing. When Dallas went into Philadelphia, it was all about who the Cowboys were missing for themselves. That's how they felt. And so I think every team has a tendency to do that. If the Cowboys were to go up against the Eagles in the playoffs again, and let's say that Josh Sweat's not there, the Eagles are going to be Eagles fans that week are going to be talking about, we don't have Josh Sweat. Lane Johnson's been banged up. We got this and that. Cowboys fans on the other side are going to be going, you know, Leighton Vanders has been banged up. Is he ready to play? Is Jonathan Hankins ready to play? How are we going to stop throwing it? It's just the way I think, Kenneth, that people tend to view the game as your.
No. That's my guy, man. That's my boy, Bobby Belt, man. Shout out to him, beer gang and everything, you know. Those things don't happen for the Cowboys. The understanding that we, without Anthony Brown, without Jordan Lewis, without, you know what I'm saying, LVE, without Jonathan Hankins, without Tyron Smith for the majority of the season, and you had the rookie at the left tackle, and you're playing musical chairs, they don't give a dog if we are without Tyler Biotis, right? Everything is Dak Prescott's fault, right? And Law, do you have any credence and validation to the truth of that? It was Tony Romo's fault, too. When we had Tony Romo out there and we put up 50 points and we end up losing the game at the last telling minutes versus the Broncos, right? It's still, hey, man, it's the quarterback fault that he can't play defense. So we are always villainized, right? We are always considered the team that, hey, if it's all failed, it doesn't matter if we got the 31st ranked defense, the 32nd ranked defense, it's the quarterback fault. It's the quarterback fault. Don't matter what the owner does. It doesn't matter whose strength of schedule. It will always be the quarterback fault. And they trash the quarterback. And then when the quarterback is gone, they uplift the quarterback and say, hey, baby, y'all remember, boy, times was good when we had this quarterback. That's just how it goes. And the old times of talking about the Cowboys, we go back into the bag of, hey, man, this quarterback was able to do this and that without that. But there's all Mandela affecting going around. Because there's never been a time that we've seen Troy Aikman win without Michael Irvin, without Emmitt Smith, without a healthy offensive line, dare I say. But the Mandela effect will be all into the minds, right? Controversy wins. We can go all the way back to the 70s. Dwayne, shout out to Thomas. Shout out to him, right? The guy that was traded to the New England had to come back. But we wouldn't have won it without him. But it's all the Mandela effect. People forget about the little things. Adam Scott says since 1995, there have been 13 different teams to win the Super Bowl. There is 18 other teams that have a 27-plus year drought, but they only talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Right. Yeah. Oh, without Terrence Steele, I forgot about that, Raymond. You know, we gotta keep leaving Terrence Steele. But I think that this season we bounced back in such a great way of making sure that we secure and cover up things so good that it's a breeze, right? And I ain't talking about Drew. It is a breeze from what we are able to see. But those bevies of excuses do not belong to us because they are only going to be considered excuses from a negative connotations, not from a positive one, right? The quarterback. I've seen literally people scrutinize and sully and denigrate the quarterback for throwing multiple INTs, right? And I get it. You have every right to be angry and frustrated, but your levels of frustrations can't or shouldn't oversee the win, right? Like, as bad as it is, we're 8-2. Would you prefer, and I told the guy in the comment, would you prefer 2-8, you know, without the interceptions, or give me the side of interceptions with the win? Yeah. The Giants will play their starters for real, and that's what the coach said yesterday. Sam says, a.k.a. dark-skinned Vach, the chat not done flaming the Eagles in their schedule, in their popcorn schedule. Yeah, you know. Shoot them down, baby. Shoot them down. It is what it is.
Flaws are more accentuated, and you tend to brush off whatever flaws they have. It's the nature of being a fan, I think.
Yeah, and the saying gets thrown around a lot. I know Brian Broaddus says it a lot. Nobody in the NFL feels bad for you, ever.
Yep.
And I feel like it's just in a vacuum here in our Metroplex. We only...
No. Nobody feels bad for the Cowboys. No one. No one feels bad for the Cowboys. But they will have the bevy of excuses for anyone else. For anyone else, they will look at the heroic moments for anyone else. They will talk about, look, for example, last season, the narrative of the Bengals having the worst offensive line, the perceptions of the worst offensive line, right? And yet, Joe Mixon had a hell of a year, over 13 touchdowns, running and receiving. The dude had over 1,000 yards. Yes, Joe Burrows is nice, right? But I don't think that he had the pitfalls of not throwing to a Jamar Chase in his career, right? Because they came in the same time when he came back, what have you, and T. Higgins and that Tyler Boyd and all of those boys, right? And yet, nobody is talking about the Cowboys' pass block win rate being one of the worst in the National Football League. That's not even mentioned. We are still under the notion that we have the best offensive line in the National Football League. We are still under the notion that everybody on our offensive line is still the Hall of Fame that they are. They are giving credence that Tyron Smith is still in his prime. They are giving credence that even Jason Peters is still in his prime and still got the gold jacket. Now, granted, I would give you that my guy, Zach Martin, is still one of the top offensive linemen in the National Football League. But I promise you, last year when you talk about the Bengals and they're like, they must have had all Walmart guys, right? Because that's all what they talked about. And no one mentioned what that defense was able to do in the playoffs. No one mentioned when they played against the Titans, when they had, I think the defense forced about 3 or 4 turnovers. They only mentioned the quarterback. I wish when we played the Niners last season that we had 5 or 3 or 4 turnovers in that game, right? So we can get some credence and validation to our quarterback. But it's not the same, y'all. It's not. It's not. I had to argue when I need to stop arguing with people, you know, on on Twitter saying, well, Romo never had the offensive line. The offensive line that we banging on the table that was an elite offensive line, Romo had in his prime. Law, do you have any truth to that? Yeah, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. Those guys on the tail end, baby. Travis Frederick is not even here. Tyron been injured every season. Those guys not in their primes. I can't make this stuff up. Now, granted, the front office, for what we do, we like to take away instead of adding to, right? We like to have this mantra over here, and I'm not beating up the front office. We like to have that mantra of, hey, or that notion, basically. Can he do it without the offensive line? Who says that? You know what I mean? Can he do it without a number one wide receiver? Who says that? You know? hey, we went tooth and nail of fighting even DeMarcus Lawrence. He ate Khalil Mack. What other front office do that, right? Oh, man, we don't want to pay this guy because he's not this guy. You know, come on, man.
We see that conversation like, oh, you should be able to next man up mentality and go win a game. We only see that because that's the only thing we seek out. I do think that there are enough teams that deal with the same thing and do get that expectation as well. So maybe it's just the vacuum of our market. But you mentioned Dak Prescott there, and this is a question that the fan text is going to love. Dak Prescott turnovers will cost you a playoff game. Yes or no?
Let me ask before he go in. We're not going to speak it into existence, but we can say the turnovers can be alarming. When you're in the playoff, you can't play timid, though. You got to still have that aggressive mindset. Those are the things that I'm looking at. But we got to play the fields. We do. I would prefer on third, if it's third and let's say 16 or something like that, and if you on your side of the field and you got plenty of time left, not Charlie check down, but don't force it. Don't force it in the middle of the field on that play in the playoff game to not your number one. If it's your number one, if it's CD Lamb, yeah. Even if it's T.Y., yeah. Maybe if it's Schultz. Those are my three. If it's 3rd and 16 in the middle of the field. But I would not force it into triple coverage. There's nothing wrong with taking the underneath at that point. And if that do it, I ain't going to say draw, but if you do a play that's designed for the clear out underneath, right, and you can get it to 4th and inches or 4th and 5 or 4th and 2, then punt that joker away. Trust your defense. Trust it, but don't put yourself in a situation whereas it's second quarter or third quarter and it's 3rd and 16, you're on your side of the field and you're forcing it. No. Trust your defense. Say, hey, my bad, we got in a bad situation. We're gonna punt, we're gonna take what we can get out of 3rd and 16. If it's not the first down, I'm comfortable punting the ball and looking in the eyes of my defense saying, lock in, and trusting my punter to pin it deep. Anything can pop off from there, but don't force it. That's all I'm saying in the playoffs. Don't force it. Don't rush it.
It's unpredictable because has he made a bunch of turnover-worthy throws? No. Regardless of what anybody wants to come in here and say, the fact of the matter is half the interceptions he's thrown this year have not been turnover-worthy throws. Now, he's had 7 of them that are on him, 100%. Right. And that's a higher number than we're used to seeing from him. That's absolutely something that is tough to live with. But
right.
I can't predict. It's completely unpredictable to wonder, is a ball going to bounce off Noah Brown's chest? Is a ball going to bounce off of Peyton Hendershot's chest? Is a ball going to get batted at the line to scrimmage or is there going to be a collision and it happens to go in there? That's the stuff that's fluky that you can't project. You can't predict.
Right.
Turnovers in general hurt your football team. When you turn the ball over, you're going to lose football games.
Yeah.
And so the question is, okay, what kind of is Dak eliminating the turnovers like the second one he threw to Kevin Byard? Or are we talking about like the first one that was thrown to Kevin Byard? Because that's going to be the difficulty of assessing this, is trying to figure out, has he cleaned up his own wrong decisions? If he has, then I think some of that flukiness generally balances out over time, and you'll see less of that. It's just a matter.
No doubt. Bobby Belt with a great assessment on that, But in big time moments, big time players stand tall, and you got to you got to develop and figure out a way. You do. Every now and then, the Noah Browns, the Peyton Hendershots of the world would make a splash play. But, man, we used to have this bread and butter. You go to your bread and butter. Like everybody knew. Everybody knew Jay Novacek, Michael Irvin, about to get this ball. Those are your playmakers. Those are the interceptions that if you threw the ball their way, just like you would say just like you pat yourself on the chest, all right, it was my bad. Right? And those type of playmakers will also say, my bad. God, dog, you know what I'm saying? I at the bed with that one. But it would never happen again in this game. And those are the guys that you will have to rely on in the National Football League in the biggest and the brightest moments. Are your playmakers, not trying to create one. And I'm not finna dog Hendershot. I do like what his skill set is. But I for dog sure would dog the decision making of highlighting those guys to be those guys at the biggest and the brightest moments. And I get it. Somebody will argue me up and down and say, well, Law, Noah Brown, man, sure, he was balling out. He was balling out in that game. But you guys can't remember. You guys can't remember when we were winning Super Bowls back in the days. The plays that Kevin Martin was making. Oh, he'll balling out, baby, in the biggest moments. No. The biggest moments were your playmaker. The biggest moment was Jay Novacek, by the way. Emmitt Smith, who to this day still got the leading touchdown record for playoffs with 19 of them for the running back. I think there was a quarterback to get close to it, and I think his name is Cam Newton or somebody like that in the playoffs or something like that. Let's go. But he said, Martinez says, poor Brown, laugh out loud, having a rough time catching the ball lately. And it's just what it is, right? Expectations when they meet reality.
Matter of, is Dak playing clean football, which in recent weeks, I think he generally is. And so it's just the nature of the beast with some of those, tipped interceptions and things like that.
Yeah, even with the bad decisions included, if you just eliminate the tip passes, the drop passes that turn into turnovers, a lot of these box scores look a pretty good bit different. You take away the Peyton Hendershot drop into the interception, you don't even have to score on that drive. You at least kill more clock. You push the ball further back down the field, and then we're not talking about Dak having 2 interceptions in that game. Every turnover has its own story, has its own, why behind it. And so that's why it is hard to kind of break down and dissect if those things will become an issue in the long term. But seeing a lot of reaction on the fan text, can't blame Dak for the receiver's hands. Bobby Belt is apparently smoking something if he thinks Dak's turnovers won't cost us a playoff game.
In the Twitch, we just got a flat yes, it will cost them from KURBYD.
Man, y'all, turnovers are like what they said, turnovers, and they will cost any team. But you can't bury yourself in it, We talked about defeating demons, right? Matthew Stafford, no one in the National Football League, I believe, last year had more turnovers than him. Now, granted, he forever going to go to his grave as a Super Bowl winning champion, right? They had the number 1 defense in the National Football League. I'm quite sure if Aaron Donald or even at the height of what Von Miller was doing last season, if those two guys were not on that team, or even you can throw in Jalen Ramsey. That's why football hit me even more. Woo! That's why football is such a team sport. If you don't have those guys on your team, you don't win the Super Bowl. You got to have somebody making plays. And I get it. The Niners were literally a tart away from them being in the Super Bowl, right? A Tart drop. I think that guy's name was Tart. Even the Eagles picked him up, right? They're trying to see if they can shake anything else out of him. But there was a Tart drop away. What amazing how this game of football is a game of inches. And they had to defeat their demons. I think the Rams, it wasn't easy for them. See, what a lot of people want it to be easy. It's no easy in football. One can literally argue that the Rams won the Super Bowl by luck. But luck is when preparation meets opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. And if these boys are not prepared for the moment, then they will be sitting on the sidelines or sitting on their couch eating oodles and noodles right with us watching the Super Bowl. One can argue that the Rams had to beat the Bucs, right? Right? They had to beat the Bucs, and it got down to whereas the aficionados normally, they would have called roughing the passer on one of those guys that sacked Tom Brady, right? Was that the same game? And they found it. They had to beat Tom. They had to beat the Niners. Look, Sean McVay record versus the Niners was like 0-7. 0-7. He never beat the Niners. And this is the biggest and brightest stage ever. Y'all look it up. He was 0-7. Sean McVay don't have an answer to beating the Niners against Kyle Shanahan, basically. The head-to-head matchup. And what happened? He could have folded up like a wallet and said, you know what? Hey, we don't have a chance against this team. That's my buddy, man. We started coaching together. That's my boy. He knows me, man. Better than his wife or whatever. You know, he knows him, right? He got my number. But he had to not run like the Avatar. He had to stand tall and fight. And then they had to take 2 weeks off to face the Cincinnati Bengals, right? When you go to the Super Bowl, you get, a week off. That's the biggest fear, having a week or 2 week off, and then have to play football all up again, But neither here nor there. Even in that game, it wasn't a layup. So if anybody think that when we get to these playoff games, that everything got to be laid out perfectly. No, it ain't gonna happen. You gotta claw, fight, and minimize your pitfalls and figure out a way to win the game. But there will still be your detractors. There will still be a bevy of other people saying, look at the Cowboys. It's easier. Look, y'all, it's easier to say that the Cowboys will lose versus saying that the Cowboys will win. Just as easy if it were to say last year that the Rams would lose in the playoffs versus that they will win every game. Look what had to happen for them to win. But nobody would get that through their skull because they listen to all of these networks and they buy into what they're saying and they say, man, the Cowboys don't have a chance. And Law, you're spitting all of this stuff for y'all to hold that L once again. You shouldn't even be a fan of this team because it's all about the money. But the word fan is for a fanatic. And it's just as I love what my kids can do, I would never, from my mouth, tell them that they would never live up to the expectations of what I see that they can become. I would never, if my daughter loved to sing, even if she sounds scratchy, I said, well, baby, we're going to work on that. Shoot. If J-Lo can make it, I know she can make it, right? Even if Rihanna can make it, I know my daughter can make it if she want to be a singer. Y'all heard Riri when she was young? Boy, I said, shoo. She had a voice only her mother could love, probably. You know, man, they was ready to say, hey, man, it's on YouTube. It's out there. We're like, man, y'all sure she gonna sing, you know? And there are people with talent. There are people with more and more talent than her. There are people with more and more talent than her refuse to sing because someone said that she couldn't, or someone said that he couldn't, because someone always belittled them. Someone always say, put that keyboard down. You would never become. And it begins to manifest itself, and they begin to believe in it, and then all of a sudden, the person that we are seeing, the greatest of all time that we see on TV, is working at Walmart, right? Working at Fred's or Dollar Store, or working at an oil quick lube place, right? And they would say, man, that dude Earl Manigault, man, he was 10,000 times better than Jordan, right? But people will put you into a box because of where you grew up from, or where you from, or what you look like, or how tall you are, or how fat you are, or how skinny you are. People love to put you into a box and label you and discount you and sully you and discredit you and say that this is what you will always be, a turnover machine. You will always be the guy that fumbles the ball. You will always be the Cowboys. What can go wrong will go wrong. The sun will shine tomorrow. Guess what? It will. And I will be right. It will rain somewhere, and I will be right. But it's easier to negatively say what somebody will always be versus saying that, hey, the inverse of it. Thomas Williams, appreciate you for the $19.99 for your mind. Dak has to win it all to get us off his back. That's the expectations he set when he demanded $40 million per year. No amount of excuses making is going to change that. Hear ye, hear ye. For the same $40 million that he's getting, isn't that the base market rate for his skill set? Hear ye, hear ye. Let me speak truth to power. Is Derek Carr getting $40 million a year? Did Carson Wentz get $40 million a year? APY. Is Goff getting $40 million? You see, a lot of people like to associate money with the skill set of said player and not the market rate. Look, I stay in a community. If somebody sell their house for $150,000, we're gonna all riot over here, right? The base house is $450,000. If anybody sell their house for $100,000, we're gonna be mad because that's gonna bring down the value of everybody's collective money, collective house rate here, because that is how the market works, baby. So I get it. A lot of people will look at the money and the remuneration of the player and say that, hey, that is what he demands to get because those are the expectations. So with that being said, there should be no excuses for Josh Allen getting $43 million. There should be no excuses for Kyler Murray for what he's making. I think it's close to $50 million juxtaposed to 40. There should be no excuses for Deshaun Watson for what he's going to get next year. There should be no excuses for the money that a player is making based off of what they should be able to deliver. That is the reality of it when we start talking about the money. Because if there was nobody in 2016, 17, and 18 saying that the man that's making $880,000, don't y'all know that Rico Gathers was making more money than Rain Dakota Prescott? He was gathering more money than Rain Dakota Prescott. So shouldn't we all say that the $40 million that he was making, shouldn't that be back pay? Oh my goodness, somebody reach over to your neighbor and slap your neighbor and tell him it's not about the money. But I do know one thing. Money do answereth all things. And that's in somebody's book right there. When you start talking about the money, hey, didn't y'all know that in his rookie year, Michael Gallup was making more money than Rain Dakota Prescott? Don't y'all know that? So when we start looking at the money, you missed the argument right there. Shouldn't we be saying that right now that the Cowboys are stealing money from this guy?
Stop, thief! Come back, thief!
By the name of Tony Pollard. Is he getting paid the value that he is worth? Are we going to go back and forth? It is the market. You see, these guys done created a situation and a philosophy and a formula to fans to start SHIT on the players versus the people that's making billions. And we talking about revenue sharing, antitrust bill. We also talking about, I would tell you that all of the players that playing in the National Football League, they getting the raw end of the shaft. They getting shafted with the money that is being actually generated from the NFL product. They are absolutely getting shafted. The NFL done signed $111 billion with Amazon Prime. If we want to really talk about the money, they done also included over $30 billion for sports gambling, betting. If we are also talking about money in general, we can talk about the massive amount of money that's being brought into these stadiums. And also when we start talking about the political arena from the money aspect of the money being increased for those who stay in Arlington, the property taxes are increasing so much that it's going to increase, it's going to create a natural intimate domain for that area. You got people that's busting their chops off. They're making $120,000 or $150,000 that's in Arlington. They can barely find a house to live in because they're not making enough money. People, the general public, because of that massive stadium that's there, because of the massive money that's increasing in those areas. Oh, we had people, there's a document out there. I'm going to get back to football eventually, but there's a document that's out there for those who's living in this, was it SoFi? Where's that stadium is built at for the Rams? That they can no longer stay there. They can no longer stay there. If you make it $15 to $16 an hour, you are pretty much homeless in that area. These billionaires, you think that they cared when they built that massive amount of stadium? But we want to talk about the money. Oh my gosh, man, come on. Inglewood, they can't even stay there. Natural process of intimate domain. The rich getting richer, but we talk about the money.
Let's see, 775, keep the Cowboys defense off the field as much as possible.
I'm with Mark Woltz in the YouTube chat. We have to be unafraid to throw the ball downfield, put the defense on alert. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, Art says Joe Burrow got carried into the Super Bowl by his defense. Ryan Tannehill throwing 4 picks. What was it, 4? My goodness, man. Pat Mahomes won a Super Bowl. This from Joseph. Yeah, but when you go back and look at the game, let me know what the running back did in that game. But people will only talk about Pat Mahomes. Let me know what the running back did in that game. Y'all let me know, right? Right. But shout out to them. I would prefer Pat Mahomes to win that Super Bowl juxtaposed to the Niners that year. And I get it. Heavy is the crown, right? You the quarterback of the team, you'll be spotlighted. But still, if Pat Mahomes won that Super Bowl for $500 million, right, that they included, well, dogged, he's supposed to win the next Super Bowl when they had a diminishing rates of return with that offensive line, him running for his life against Tampa Bay. If you pay him that money, if it was the role reversed and it was Dak, they would have been still talking about that game to this day. But that's a story of another day. The friendly neighborhood Blue Shield, isn't that Jerry Jones' fault for not paying Dak earlier when Dak market value was lower? Yes. You're getting right to the point. Because the Cowboys, instead of paying him the money, they said, hey, he's not worth at the time $25 million. because I think that at that time that was Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think that the person who really upped the value of all of that was by the guy by the name of Matthew Stafford. I think he got a $29 million contract, and they was like, nah, he ain't worth that. Let's see what he can do. And the argument was Dak Prescott is not that guy. He's living off of the front five offensive line, and he's living off of Elijah Elliott, right? And so they were saying that in games, he is this record without Zeke, and in games, he is this record without this particular offensive lineman. We saw what he looked like without Tyron Smith. Y'all remember that? That was in 2017. Right? When Chaz Green or whoever we had out there couldn't block a folding chair, Natchez, Mississippi was blocking better than him. But the problem is those type of things that no other quarterback have to live through. Like what we've seen, that what the Cowboys should have done is that in his second year, they said, okay, the Cowboys went 13-3. Let's add more and more weapons. Let's add more and more opportunities. Let's go into the free agency and bring in more and more people, right, to surround this young team and see what they can do in 2017 and 18. But since the 2016, the Cowboys were taken away. Remember, everybody got paid before Dak Prescott. Jalen Smith got paid. Tank Law got paid. Oh, excuse me, Ezekiel Elliott got paid. You know, we go down that whole entire list of everybody if we want to talk about the money. You paid your quarterback last because you didn't have faith and trust in your said quarterback. And that what drove up the price. And that what drove up the, hey, I'm not really believing the Jones family. So therefore, since I don't trust you, I'm going to put in an anti or a no trade clause within the confines of my contract. And also, you can no longer franchise tag me anymore. Y'all fail to realize Jalen Smith got paid before it rained Dakota Prescott. All right, so that's just how it goes, man. That's how it goes, y'all. We were worrying about the peas and we missed the meat. Coach Marv, law conversations and unrealistic expectations on Dak. All are second contracts. Players come from our Cowboys front office always talking our players' contract. They started this type of environment. Yeah, they did. They did. And to be 1,000, I don't care what Dak Prescott get paid. He ain't giving me none. Dak Prescott ain't sitting out here super chatting. He ain't out here supporting. He ain't sending money this way, right? I just want us to win. And I know for sure if the Cowboys were feeling froggy on Dak Prescott, and if they didn't really believe it in Dak Prescott and it took for his ankle to bust through the bones or what have you, and it was laying out there on the field and they had to feel a certain way from the environment of the people, right? Because people, the fan base was saying like, man, come on, man, y'all know y'all wrong. Y'all should have paid that, man, right? It took that in order for them to pay Dak Prescott. I wouldn't have mind at all. And y'all heard it from my mouth to y'all ears. If the Cowboys said, man, you know what? We don't believe it in Dak Prescott. We're going to parlay him for 2 first-round draft picks, and we're going to go back into the community. We're going to go back into the draft and see what we can do from there and start over from scratch. They could have put up to, instead of franchise tagging him, let him test the open market. But when you talking that slick game, you halfway in, halfway out, you put the franchise tag on them. All right, I know this for history. No quarterback in the National Football League, well, no quarterback in the Cowboys' history ever been franchise tagged until Dak Prescott entered the scene.
This team, I've said it consistently recently, and it's 100% the case, I believe. This team will go as far as Dak and CD, their connection can take them. When they are on, teams have real trouble keeping up with Dallas. When there's struggles for CeeDee Lamb, or if Dak Prescott's turning the ball over, those sorts of things are happening, or Dak's not able to get the ball to CD, that's where you run into real issues with the Cowboys. But if that connection is clicking, they're an incredibly dangerous football team in January and February.
No doubt, no doubt. Good observation from 105.3 The Fan, so that y'all can check them out, continue to help grow them over there. Be sure to hit that one right here. Be sure to hit that link right there, and you can watch the full analysis of what they said about that. That's just what it is, y'all. That's just what it is. Ed, I'm not fit to get like this with this team. There are some things that we did right with as it relates to the free agency and things like that, but then there are some things that we just didn't go all the way in on, right? We just didn't go all the way in on. And if the Cowboys figure out a way to win it this way, then this will be the first. But all of the teams that won the Super Bowl in the last 10 years, they had made that big, massive free agency pickup during the offseason. Whereas it took the Cowboys week 15, 16 to say, you know what, hey, we need extra help to fill in that voided area on that wide receiver thing. And CeeDee Lamb, for the Cowboys to bet on that, his growth and his game plan so far, he's been top. There's no other 88 for the first 3 years is pulling up and doing what CeeDee Lamb is doing. Right? Yeah, I mean, come on, his stats and his numbers are phenomenal. And that's even with your starting quarterback being out 5 games. Yeah. Javon says they could have signed Dak in 2018 for $28 million a year APY. Yeah, it could have been, but that's water under the bridge now. The man is getting paid what the market rate is saying. Now, the only other team that was willing to jump in all the way in before they put that exclusive on, and they came out and said it was the Colts. The Colts were like, hey, we'll give him 35. And at that time, there was a lot of people saying like, shoot, he ain't worth. And I know, was it 2019? Was it 2019? We started off like 4-0 and everything like that. And the agency of Dak Prescott said, you know what, the price of the bag just went up. It ain't the same price, Something like that, because he was having a phenomenal start in 2019. And then we kind of teetered off, and then we finished that season 8-8. But for those who need to know, in 2019, there was a lot of little gray areas within that. But neither here nor there. I got some more audio, and then we would try to open up the phone lines if you can. Let me just play this few audio from Good Morning Football.
The name that you do not hear in that conversation is the Minnesota Vikings. All right, what a difference a couple of weeks can make for the Eagles. Jay, what do you make of the situation that they are in right now? Is it quarterback? Is it team? Is it just they kind of fluking at the right time? Wrong time.
It's quarterback, and I think...
Hey, before we go into that, appreciate you, Keem. He said they couldn't agree on the contract. When you openly talk about contract openly, then there will always be people to pick sides. Contracts are meant to be within the confines of you and the agent, not openly, right? So, and just like divorces or anything else, any natural contract in general, right? I work with contracts all the time, right? And it's millions of dollars, right? And people will always have fault and say, well, this government agency is overspending on this right here, right? Even though we earmarked $420 million for this project, right? And they call in a specialist like me to go over the contract. And we go over line for line. And they say, if that's open, which will be after the contract is done to the public, then they say, you know what? All right, cool, But when they see it before it's happening, man, that's $428 million of taxpayer money. We don't need that in this location. We don't need that in that location. Because everyone who's not knowledgeable enough of the conversation or what the detailings are would just sully the waters. And that's just what's going on. And unfortunately, the Cowboys pivot and they use contract negotiation via the public, right, to sway the decisions. And it's sloppy work, right? It's sloppy work. It's just what it is. And they play on the tendencies of the player too. Like some players would say, hey, I would not include myself in training camp until money is involved, right? And then the media get a hold of that and they say, the player's not all about it. He's all about the money, right? And then when I tell people that players are a Ryan Shazier hit away, right, even in practice, right? And then people say, hey, man, pay that person for what they are generating from the market. But that's a story of another day. Let's listen.
Sometimes you have that girlfriend that you take advantage of, and she says to you, you take for granted. I'll say that. You take for granted, and she says to you, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. Jalen Hurts is one of the most valuable players in the NFL, and when he was out there, I'm not saying Eagles fans or Eagles players or organization, they know what they have in Jalen Hurts. But we heard Micah Parsons said, hey, it's more of the system. And guys around him said, well, they have the best offensive line in football. Well, their rushing attack is very good. Well, they're at the top of takeaways.
Well, here's what I got to say with that, and why this, and why we going over this. Here's what I got to say with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Their NFC playoff picture with 1 week to.
Hold on, the audio done chipped out on me. Hold on. Here's what I got to say with this. I'm gonna rewind. Hold on, rewind. Let me hear him go again. Let me know if y'all can hear audio. My audio went away on him. All right, let me see if I can go right here.
It's the way he does it, the way he goes about his business, the way he works, the confidence that he pushes and the energy he pushes throughout the team. So not having him out there is huge. So you look at this Eagles football team, of course there's a level of concern. You look at other teams, we talk about Patrick Mahomes, possible MVP, Joe Burrow, possible MVP, Josh Allen, all of these guys' names has been mentioned. You take them off their football teams, they're not the same offense. They're going to struggle as well. So Philadelphia over the last 2 weeks, they've lost these games, and you would expect that. When you lose Jalen Hurts as your quarterback, you're just not going to take off and say, oh, everybody's going to step up and they're going to still win games and they're going to clinch the division and they're going to clinch the #1 seed. It's going to be tough, but I will say their defense still played really well yesterday, only giving up 13 points in that game. That's winning football. If you can do that late in the season, going into the playoffs, you give yourself a chance to win those games. So the defense is still playing well. They just need to get Jalen Hurts back. He needs to be healthy. If he's healthy, and I'm an Eagles fan, I still feel confident in my team that we can go into the playoffs and win football.
Everyone said Jalen.
All right, so that's Good Morning Football. All right, so and they giving the comfortable soft jabs at the Eagles right now. It would have been 4 Hail Mary jabs at us. There have been, haymaker jabs at us. It's been not even not jabs, just haymakers. I mean, let's say, yeah, it's been haymakers at us for losing the game. Here's the truth right here. It's still too soon. I've seen Eagles fans get all angry and butthurt about when we say system and these sorts of things. I still saw Gardner Minshew throw a deep pass to A.J., and he was able to take it the distance for a touchdown, for one of those touchdowns there. I'm not finna discount what they were able to do. For one thing, what we can't do is sit back here and look at the Saints like they're chopped liver. Look at Marshawn Lattimore like he's a walking milk carton around here, for crying out loud. That dude is the dog right now. Even though that was his first game back, and that was the first INT for them, I think that the Saints defensive front, they do a remarkable job. And what you can't do is sit back here and look at what Gardner Minshew did against the Cowboys, right? Putting up 34 points or what have you, or really right at 27 points if you take away the, with a pick six, whatever that math is. 27, 26 points. He was able to move for 400 yards down the field and things like that. What I'm saying is that what you can't do is yo-yo it, right? Normally, to see whether or not a quarterback fit within the confines of your system, it takes about 3 to 4 games. It do. So you can't just look at it one game. Next game. It's not a large sample size. It's not enough sample size. So there's a bevy of excuses from what I can see and say from here. Now, could the Eagles beat the Saints with Jalen Hurts? We don't know. We definitely don't know the game plan of what the Saints were able to do. They still put up 20 points. Right? Just like with the Colts. The Colts lost by 1 point to those Eagles. So the Eagles was just having a coach type of game. Look, the Eagles put up 25 points on the Chicago Bears with 2 INTs against that team. They were literally, what we can see, the Eagles' offense were on a downward spiral. So we don't know. It is still.
Simply because you don't have evidence that something does exist does not mean that you have evidence that something doesn't exist.
And that is exactly what I'm telling you guys. And I ain't selling it to you. I'm telling it to y'all right now. All right, it was 16-17. Shout out to you. And shout out to Trey. She predicted that the Saints were going to win anyway, even if they had Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying?
Jalen Hurts lost the MVP when he went down with the injury. I think his MVP odds actually should be much higher today. You see the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, and as much as we love Minshew, he's a backup quarterback, and Jalen Hurts is a starter. My takeaway on the Eagles is it's a long season. They added a week to the season. It's now an 18-week season. 5 weeks ago, no one was touching the Eagles, but injuries happened.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Thomas, see, Thomas, you said, did you make an excuse? Law, did you accuse someone of making excuses? Let me just rewind on what he said. Because those things are not given or privy to us, right? For us Cowboy fans. Look, it's a long season, y'all. Things happen. Those things are not given to us as Dallas Cowboy fans. But let's listen to what this dude have to say.
Quarterback and Jalen Hurts is a starter. My takeaway on the Eagles is it's a long season. They added a week to the season. It's now an 18-week season. 5 weeks ago, no one was touching the Eagles, but injuries happened.
Yeah.
And we're not done with the regular season yet. That's how long the season is right now. And the Eagles could have had 5 weeks rest for Jalen Hurts. They could have. If they had just taken care of business one of these last 2 weeks, they don't have to play them next week. And then you get the bye week, and then you get a home playoff game. Then you get another home playoff game. Now they got to rush Jalen Hurts back. He's got to play next week. Like, they need him to win. And I don't know if the Giants are going to play their starters. I know Daboll said they were, but I just know how these games go. Maybe they roll out the starters, and then the second quarter they don't, and they rest everybody, and they say, let's prepare for the playoffs. But I don't think the Giants are that type of team that's just going to lay down anyway. Like, even if it's the Giants' backups, they're going to fight hard. And Lane Johnson, Jalen Hurts, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Yesterday, Josh Sweat goes down. It's a long season. You don't win Super Bowls in November. You win them in February. And the Eagles are not the healthiest team right now. They need to get right. And I just think the season went a wrong way for them right now. And I don't know if they're still the top dogs in the NFC. I genuinely don't, even if they secure the bye.
It feels like Bizarro world right now, the way we're talking about the Eagles. Because I feel like it was just a couple weeks ago that they throttled the Giants in MetLife Stadium, and they looked like they were in a totally different class. It's definitely Bizarro world. You guys got me doing Eagles highlights here on a Monday morning, and yet the Giants are the ones that have already clinched their playoff spot, and we already know where they're at. And we don't know yet. We're still TBD on the best team in the NFC all season long. They could fall from the number 1 seed. I mean, they could still win the division, but fall out of that. It's really mind-boggling when you think about where the Eagles are. And yet, with all of this noise around them, I don't have any concerns about how good this team can be. Jalen Hurts is coming back. He's not out for the season. Look, Gardner Minshew, people have different expectations when the backup quarterback comes in. They're like, hey, it should act as if the offense is still running. No, that's so hard to do. And I'll say this, I don't put it all on Gardner Minshew. Look, Nick Sirianni, you got to wear some of this too, because what happened to this number 1 ranked rushing offense that we saw from the Eagles? They were the most balanced offense.
Y'all hear ye, hear ye. Were the Eagles averaging about 5 yards per tote in that game?
all season long, and yet they had 9 rushing yards in the first half. This can't happen. Look, when Jalen Hurts is out, it's okay. We've got to rely on the run game. We've got to stay physical. You know who else was out? Lane Johnson, your all-pro right tackle, who hadn't given up a sack or a quarterback hit all season long, and now Jack Driscoll's being taken to task, and you got Gardner Minshew throwing the ball 30 times in this game. So I think when...
Hold on. So is it more like Lane Johnson the MVP or Jalen Hurts? See, the more they talk, they create these little holes and these little alleyways for me to pick apart. And I'm going to tell y'all beautiful people that's listening right now, where was that for us when we left Tyron Smith up out of here for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7? Where was it? Oh, the Cowboys, man, we got a rookie, Tyler Smith, not Tyron Smith. out there. Where was that?
When something like that happens, you got to say, all right, listen, we got to put our best foot forward offensively. I don't put this all on Gardner Minshew. Look, the Eagles are still one of the most physical teams. Defensively, I mean, they're getting after people. I mean, what they're doing right now, they lead the league in sacks right now. They're getting after quarterbacks.
They are.
But I feel like this offense is still very balanced, still very physical. And when Jalen comes back, they're going to get back to doing what they did best. And for Eagles fans, I don't think they have any worry for concern about what
reason, but they do have worry. That's the
they do,
Right.
which
Jalen Hurts will
is
help them
that's the
run
age of
games
red
well.
right now,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
everybody's looking for something to calm themselves down.
Yeah.
But for Eagles fans, you'll be all right.
Eagles fans are some of the most loyal in the NFL, and they are married to their team better than most, I think. In sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, your offensive line, it's sick a little bit and it's limping a little bit. Lane Johnson, we talked Jalen Hurts' injury, and Kyle said last week, like, words that concern me are pectoral or AC joint, bad injuries down the stretch. SC injury. Okay, bad down the stretch for the Eagles. On Thursday, Sean, I called out your name when I said the Eagles have to zip up their line, and they did not against the Saints. 6 sacks. 6 sacks. It wasn't like he was taken down one time. Half a dozen times.
It's amazing when we start talking about sacks and these sorts of things when your offensive lineman is down.
And frankly, the Saints, they got a lead, and they only had to pressure Gardner Minshew 12 times, and they got him 6 times. I know it's not just a Minshew problem, but to me, this late in the season, teams are going to lean into, wow, look at how the Saints got after him. Saints weren't playing for much, and this is what they were able to do against the Eagles 6 times. I'm sorry, that's a problem. I don't care who it is. Jalen Hurts, it's not like he's getting the ball. I know he has escapability a little bit more than Gardner Minshew, but if a team as good of a defensive line as the Saints had, Cam Jordan looked fantastic. If they can get after and get your quarterback 6 times, you can get your hand on him. That does not bode well for January. You don't want your quarterback on his feet that much and with a bum shoulder too.
Yeah, so tough.
Then, hey, let me say this for truth. And I'm speaking to the Eagles, the Cowboys Eagles fans that's watching right now, because I know I got a Cowboy Eagle fans in here. y'all got to be, say present. Give me a green heart if you're in the chat, because I know y'all listening right now. You know what I mean? If you think that the defensive front that you about to play now is less than what you've seen against the Saints, and you finna bring out Jalen Hurts, you finna usher him out, Jalen Hurts, against a team that y'all done spanked around a couple of weeks ago, and the Giants are gonna take it lightly on you, I got another one coming for you. You may want to put Gardner Minshew out there one more time, because at this point, and you may want to tell your coach Nicholas Sirianni to run the ball. You better tell him that, because Thibodeau, Dexter Law, and all of those boys that's on that Giants front, even Jalen Smith, don't have Jalen Smith to be out there against Jalen Hurts, because that dude can sometimes deliver the boom when you're least expecting, But neither here nor there. Cowboy Nation, all we can see out of Jalen Smith is like, damn, man, we let that dude go. He could have made some valuable impact for us, but that's a story of another day. But no cap, though. The Giants front is a little bit better than what y'all seen against the Saints. And if you thinking you want to prove a point to try to win that, got another one coming for y'all, man. That's the end of that. All right, so, shout out to Good Morning Football, man, for that references there. They gave us some analysis on the playoff picture, as we all can see. That the Cowboys are pretty much in a must-win situation versus the Hogs or what have you, and of course the Eagles with a win versus the Giants, and the Cowboys lost, plus the Niners lost, they can secure their spot, and the Niners with a win versus the Cardinals, as you guys can see on the screen, and the Eagles lost to the Giants, then they can secure number 1 seed. And, of course, the Cowboys sitting back with the win with the Commanders. And if we get a double loss for the Niners and the Eagles, then we ourselves could be in the number 1 spot. And y'all already know, us versus the world, us versus this and that, that's okay. You know how it goes. Yeah, y'all know how it goes. But we facing the pigs. I can't make this stuff up, man. They done got a pig out here as their logo, man, or as their number 1 mascot, man. This is a layup for us, y'all. Hey, man, this is a layup, man. Yes, indeed. R.I.P. to y'all ears, because that's what it's going to sound like and it's time for us to shoot down the pig. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. All right, we're going to open up that phone lines for your mind, baby.
Call my phone, hit my line. Only ones who down for.
Come on. The phone number is 657-390-7391. Let's go. Can't stay long to 2:30. It's the max. Then we got to split up out of 2:30ish, you know. Come on.
Mobbing with my brothers, there's no question, keep it real. Whether we East Coast and or we in the hidden.
There are 2 participants in the conference.
Not the pills.
Please announce yourself.
Show and prove it is for real. Son of God, not a son of sin.
Come on.
Keep it off the books and keep it coming in.
Right.
Bitch, the OF, see what I'm coming in. The inside caramel.
We got Glenn Law. You're live.
Hey, what's good, Law? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, man. Appreciate you, fam.
All right, great analysis as usual. You happened to come on at around the time where I had some free time, so I was like, hey, this is the kind of chime I want to see on the YouTube channel. So
yeah, thanks
for cutting the show. I just kind of want to touch really on the whole Dak thing just for a minute. So there are a lot of critics out there of the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what they do. You and I both know that. People are looking for flaws. They're nitpicking.
Right.
And I'm talking about like the national media. I mean, we have our own sort of in-house nitpickers. And I don't mind that because I can kind of fall into that too because we're trying to get somewhere. That's what we're looking for constructive reasons to criticize. But
objective analysis is always something that I love. Critical analysis, yes, but you got to have the good and the bad with it. You can't just say all bad. But I feel you, man.
Exactly. So when it comes to this Dak thing, I mean, listen. I'm a big believer of paying market value, and the price on good quarterbacks goes up. It doesn't go down.
Right.
So some people, when they have this obsession on what he's getting paid, I'm like, man, how do you have the time to do that? The bottom line is he is getting paid market value,
right,
and he is giving you market productivity. The interception rate is a little high this year.
Right.
I will admit that.
Right.
But generally speaking, he's delivering. I mean, people don't want to hear this, but he's delivering on what he's getting paid. I mean, you could look at some of the other quarterbacks if you really want to start looking at salaries. What about Kyler Murray? Would you be happy with that contract and that productivity? I know I would not. So, we can look around the league and see what people are producing in comparison to what they're getting paid. And I think you're getting a good return right now.
Right.
But the bigger picture, there was an article, I think it was in the Star Telegram, I think it was a week ago. I don't know if you read it, but Jimmy Johnson was being asked about his perspective on Dak Prescott. And I thought Jimmy Johnson had great analysis. His major point was the one thing that Dak struggled with, and I agree with this, the one thing he struggles with is when he doesn't have a clean pocket. And if you look at his turnovers, the tip passes, the pressure, those kinds of things are going to cause any quarterback disruption, no doubt. But I do think that's an area where I think that's where your coaching staff and that's where your coordinators have to help your quarterback. And I think this obsession with shotgun does scare me a little bit, because the last thing I want to do is to go on this playoff run not having learned the lesson that we had to learn against the 49ers last year. I don't want to look back, but I do know that's the one team I didn't want to play last year in the first round. I did not want to play the 49ers because I knew that defensive line was pretty potent. And so my only concern is that this coaching staff doesn't learn the lesson and try and help Dak out by giving him a clean pocket, by engaging in under center, play action, quarterback rollouts, or even bootleg.
Most certainly with that, Glenn Law. I appreciate you for your analysis on that. We are the worst team in pass block win rate, and then we decide to run out of that shotgun, which in return, Glenn, that is a horrid situation for us to look back at. Is there something that we need to improve on as it relates to our running attack? Yes. Do we get the volumes of run? Yes. Are we an elite run team? I can say this right here. I got a guy. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick. I'm going to do it on the fly. He sent me some great stat line. His name is Dak Attack on Instagram, on Twitter. And let me see if I can save this. And I guess he was looking or alluding to the fact that, it is a situation that the Cowboys are rushing. They are very comparable to the 49ers. Dog, you ain't going to let me do it away. Hold on, my face going to freeze for a second. Matter of fact, so my face won't freeze. Let me do this right quick. Let me show y'all this while I copy this right quick. Hold on. Bear with me, Cowboy Nation. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this point. And where are you? My snippet machine right here. I'm going to snippet this out. And give me 1 second while I build a plane while it's in the air, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Dallas Cowboys for what we know, from what we can see. And this is where we are at right here, comparable to, I believe he was comparing us as a running attack versus the Niners. Let me maybe make it look pretty for y'all right quick. I'm going to slide this over. Shout out to him. He's been one of the guys that's on Twitter that been arguing and debating with me back and forth with a lot of things. And what he is saying that basically the rushing yards of us comparable to the Niners. And I believe that this is not including the last game that they had, so bear with me if the stat lines are a little bit off. The Cowboys got 2,234 yards collectively versus the Niners 2,200 yards, what have you. Touchdowns, Cowboys got 24, Niners got 16. Rushing on first downs, the Cowboys run for 125, the Niners rush for 112. Rush fumbles, Cowboys only got 1. We only fumbled the ball 1 time. And the Niners fumbled the ball 7 times. Now, without context, you would say that, hey, man, we are a run first team then. If that's the case in the scenario, we are running the ball better than the Niners. Where two things can be true. And I love stat ratios like this, right? But one thing I can tell you is that the designs of runs are completely different. And when you go into the meat and the potatoes of it, you can clearly see that the Niners scheme more to run to get those 2,200 yards versus what we do. It's just a different clip ratio on how they attack and how they perceive to play their game. That's just the reality of it. Do we have a Tony Pollard that can get upfield and do crazy things? Yes. Do we have Ezekiel Elijah Elliott? Yes. Do they have Christian McCaffrey? And I don't know who their backup running back is. Y'all can help me out in the chat. But they do have Christian McCaffrey. But their run clips are different from us. There's nobody on this planet that will sit back and say, well, the Cowboys are a more power running team than they are. No. And keep in mind, that stat ratio is not including the last game that they just played against the Raiders too. So that's just what it is. Niners got one win versus one winning team. Yeah, I feel you on Sean D. Appreciate you. All right, let's hurry up, man, because I gotta go. So let's go with Coach Marv, man. You're live. Shout out to you.
Hey, Lord, Happy New Year to you, brother.
Happy New Year to you, Coach.
Listen, man, when you start talking about the run game, that got me back off my train of thought. Mm-hmm. One, I think that the controversy about the turnovers. Man, remember, Lord, last year it was on Diggs about yards.
Right.
Give it up.
Right.
Now it's on turnovers that's really not cost us no games. Direct turnovers. I'm talking about not tip passes or unfortunate turnovers. I'm talking about this crazy turnovers. So, and 2 years ago, it was about fumbles. Ezekiel Elliott was the worst football carrier in the world.
Yeah.
But it was just an aberration of 5 fumbles in that showed that. So Dak Prescott ain't been turning the ball over all the time. So these things are just, man, they just blips in the stream. I'm not saying he's a turnover machine, because if he was a turnover machine, he'd been with a show that in the last 6 years. It just don't start all of a sudden. So he's not a turnover machine. Plus, he might be a little bit more aggressive because he feels he got some teams that he got to erase a little bit, which his defense does erase some of his turnovers, or they keep him at a minimum. But you're right about the run game, and the run game has maybe just a tad went off the rails, because you got to understand this. Tyron Smith is great. I love Tyron Smith.
He ain't. Go ahead and say he ain't Terrence Steele on that right side. Go ahead,
But
Coach.
he's never been Terrence. Yeah, Tyron Smith this ain't just this year. For the last couple of years, Tyron Smith, or maybe 3 or 4 years, he has not been that dominant run blocker. He's a better pass blocker, but he's not that dominant run blocker. And that's all I want Tyron Smith to say. Okay, for this run, I got to get nasty again. I'm going to have to try to finish some guys, and I'm going to have to finish them to the ground. I just can't shield.
The conference has been locked.
It's not just good for me to make a block on certain plays. Certain plays, I got to embarrass people. And that's where I got to get that nastiness out of Tyron, because then he becomes fearful, and our run game maybe can get a little bit better, because we are getting to the point where we're being nasty.
Yeah.
Second, one last thing, Law.
Hold on, Coach. Hold on, Coach. Just to strengthen our argument just a little bit, because a lot of people probably don't understand that it's not about the volume of runs and the average of yards of runs. It's also when. Can you touch a little bit on that before you go to your last point on the run situation?
Oh yeah.
Just when.
It's about and about when and why. See, the 49ers.
The why. Yeah. The when and why.
They run running plays to set up their passing plays to get your defense flowing so the play action can work. We run running plays just to run running plays. We don't run running plays with a strategy of getting a pass off of it. They run motion. They're watching you in the motion when they run this running play to say, if you motion to give run force support in an area, we're going to attack you on a play action right behind where you flow from.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of easy catches for their receivers, not on a whole lot of moves, not a bunch of option moves. Their receivers run route moves, but it's dictated because we move you by the run action that we run, and we make you do things, and then we attack you off of it. And you have to be consistent with it, because if you do run a play and you get 1 yard, you just can't run away from it. You have to be consistent with it, because in that aspect, we slow your pass rush down because we got quarterbacks that's not mobile to get out the way. This is the same philosophy that the Cowboys should do.
No
doubt. We have to slow people down and run plays that's going to set up the C.D. Lambs and the T.Y. Hiltons to get easier catches. That's
why I wanted to say this, that, and I'm not looking at other systems. That's why I said Tony Pollard or Zeke in the Niners system, they will be viewed a whole lot different than what they are viewed at this system. Now, granted, Tony Pollard, remarkable. I hope that the kid can get 1,000 yards if they insert him into this last game of the season. But one thing I can tell you guys right now is that what Coach Marv is saying, the when and the why is so valuable, man. Appreciate you so much for calling in, Coach.
Hey, I want to say this one thing, man, Law. We'll say this right quick. Fournier. Is he back? What's going on with it?
Big number 68.
He could be a valuable backup guy at the center and guard position when we got our 5, if it takes a long time for Tyler Biadasz to get back. Because if we have another injury, I'd rather go with Fournier because he has had playing time than to go with someone who hadn't had real serious playing time yet this year. And he wasn't that bad.
I remember.
He got hurt in Detroit.
Yeah, he got hurt. If they bring him back, it'd be for like, hey, that hybrid fullback deal thing again. But I appreciate you, Coach.
He could be, listen, he can play center, and he can play guard, and he did give you some good reps. I'm not saying he was great.
Right.
But if we get a injury at the guard or center position again, we're going to put some guys there that ain't been playing this whole year.
Sam says that he's on IR. Appreciate you, though, Coach.
All right.
Good call for Coach. All right, we're gonna go down this list. I got Trey, I got Otis, and I got Uncle Dave. Let's go. It's 2:00. Let's roll. Trey, you're live.
Hey.
What's good?
Happy victory, whatever you want to say.
It's Monday weekend, baby. Talk to me.
The only thing I got to say is this. People not understanding. This is the playoff. We already in the playoff.
Right.
It's just the fact that they ain't, week 15, that's when the playoffs actually start, right? We haven't lost a game. Okay, yeah, Dak going these interceptions. We having turnovers. But the thing about our turnovers and his interceptions, we're winning. And people are confused, scratching their heads. They trying to figure out why in the world these Cowboys have not lost yet, and this man is doing all this. Because why? Because he come back and to redeem himself. The whole team come back and redeem themselves. We know how to win at the end of the game, just like what they did last night. Same thing. Because I'm telling you, without that kick, they wasn't winning. Because some Raiders, I don't know what went on, but I ain't never seen them folks play like that. But anyway, back to that. I'm tired of it. So all I want everybody to do is just calm down. Y'all don't think them Cowboys ready? They constantly blocking y'all out with this nonsense. That's what they doing. They blocking y'all out because we coming to win. I don't care who we play. Washington, the Piglet, the Pig. You don't care.
I don't want to break y'all ears. I would hit that swig button again. But I appreciate you, Trey. You want me to hit the pig just for you? Now you won't be able to hear it on your end because it's loud, man. I didn't know it was killing.
He's so loud to make chitlins out of it. Because how about them Cowboys?
Appreciate you, Trey. Oh man, it'll mess up my y'all cover your ears, man. Take that pig, baby. So shout out to all of the headphone wearers over there. That pig will tear your ears up. Shout out to Trey, man. I hear y'all get Trey and Lady Jessica confused. They're two different ladies. Yeah. Otis, what's good, man? You live, man, from the 209. Talk to me, man.
What's up, Cowboy Nation? Hey, Law, I just, I respect what all you guys do, you and all you guys who really, do your research and really speak facts. And I appreciate you guys putting up with us who don't always speak your guys' language.
Right.
Here goes the language. Here goes the language from somebody who watches every Cowboy game. I love the Cowboys. I'm done trying to prove who Dak is and who he ain't to all these commentators, all these people. I don't need a Super Bowl a victory in the middle of the season. I need the Super Bowl victory when that opportunity comes. So what I want to ask you is I want to start prepping for Tom Brady. That's what I want to start prepping for. And I feel like we need to really focus on a plan A and a plan B, because I feel like the Cowboys we have what it takes to beat every team in the NFL. It's just a matter of, are we gonna prepare right? And
well, let me get you right into this then, Otis. Here's the thing though with Tom Brady. He will pick Nashawn Wright apart. So that's why Nashawn Wright got to build up his confidence. Tom Brady, he is a guy, just like Gardner Minshew, he will get that ball out of his hand. And in the playoff time, he understands the value of time management, of controlling the ship, and everybody. The defense already talked their mess about Kellen Moore. So they, from their perspectives, they understand that the Cowboys, they done already showed their hands on the way they play their style and brand of football, knowing that Kellen Moore will abandon the run. So if we're going to beat Tom Brady, we can't run from him. We got to hit him in his mouth, and we got to make sure that if our weak link, we know for sure he's going to attack Nashawn Wright. We need to have the best game possible with Malik Hooker. We do.
Yep.
I'm not worried about Trayvon Diggs. I'm not worried about Trayvon Diggs. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna close with this because I'm glad you touched on the defense, but my focus was mainly on the offense because a lot of times we don't run enough play action. We keep Dak in the pocket a lot, and he becomes a sitting duck. And I believe that we got to move the pocket a little bit more, as much as possible. But I feel like we can't get stuck right there in between. I feel like we got to get outside the pocket, and we got to put ourselves in a position where during that one play, we got an option to. We got to always have an option for Dak to pick up 2-3 yards. And another thing, my last point. I think the way we're going to kill these interceptions is because Dak only has 7 that's on him.
Right.
So those are the ones we got to focus on and deal with when it comes to Dak Prescott. And I feel like Dak needs to learn how to take a sack sometimes.
Yeah, and give up, live to fight another day, or throw the ball away. I do agree. And don't play hero ball. I get all of that. It's sometimes good to throw the ball away. Sometimes it's good to punt it away and play the field. So, yeah, don't accumulate the sack. But I know it sounds like excuses. But we are one of the worst pass block win rate, and I think that's what he's going on in his internal clock. Get this ball out. Let's see if we can not fumble the ball and not take the sack. But I feel you. Shout out to your OT.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Otis, man. All right, we got Uncle Dave, man, from the 520. You live.
Hey, Law. How you doing?
Man,
all right.
Talk to me.
Point blank and period. We got to stop talking about these people's money. You got to talk. I mean, you talk about their play. They're professionals, and they know what they have to do, and they know what they have to correct. They always got Cowboys fans have to rage against the dying of the light. You got to rage against the dying. You cannot just expect. This team to be top notch every game. You can't expect it. The shotgun. I don't like the shotgun was good in Staubach's day. The shotgun was good with Aikman. At times it was problematic with Romo, but it's designed to give that play is designed to give the quarterback that 5-yard cushion from the line of scrimmage back to the quarterback so he take that 3-step drop. The thing about it is the offensive line has to push that 5-yard cushion forward to expand it.
Right.
Give the quarterback time to read the field and get his read. Now, with the shotgun, it's problematic when you have stronger, faster pass rushers. So the shotgun don't do you no good. It doesn't do you any good when you have that cushion and your line's not holding up their end, whether it's the right side, the guard or the tackle, or the left guard or the tackle. If you're not you can't hold the line, that 5-yard cushion don't do you no good.
No doubt.
That allows a linebacker to slide in, to slip through one of the gaps to come in there and run the quarterback out of the pocket.
Well, this is what I'm gonna say about shotgun. So far, shotgun do have us at the number one offense in the league since Dak Prescott returned, but we just can't fall in love with the shotgun. I think that a little variety package will work out for us and show us some power sets. Bring back the 13 or possible 14 personnel to exhibit some of our power and keep the teams on their heels. We got to present our best football going forward from here, Uncle Dave. I appreciate you so much for calling in.
Keep them good, too.
Yes,
How about
indeed.
them Cowboys?
How about them, Call? How about them, man? Yes, indeed. That's Uncle Dave, Stelios. All right, I got MJ, I got Sam, and then I have Lady Jessica. You're live from the 206. MJ.
What up, Law Nation? What's up, family?
All is well, man. Appreciate you for calling in. What you got for it?
So what we got to do, this is what I've been checking out. Now, with the Cowboys, it ain't about Dak Prescott no more. I feel confidence in him. One thing with Dak, his problem is sometimes he take a sack when he don't supposed to take a sack, and he could get out of there. He got to be like Roger the Dodger, for real. Because sometimes he get too pretty, and the line be blocking. 1, 2, 3, come on. Let's go, Dak. Don't step like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't do that. Then he'll get a sack. Or, and then you got to put the right receivers in the game. Number 16 got to stay in the game. You cannot be playing with 85 all the time. I'm sorry. I love you, 85. Thank you for Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore passes a little softer. Dak Prescott passes a little harder. No, I want 16 in the game every time. Got to open up for everybody else. And you got to play that the 3 tight ends sometimes. We got to, like you say, keep everybody off balance. Now, the key to the moral of the story for all this is going to come up. Who is your favorite? I'm going to ask everybody on Dallas Nation, who is your favorite coach? I'm waiting. Who y'all favorite coach is?
Tom Landry, Jimmy Johnson, Parcells. That's my top 3.
For the Cowboys right now.
Who's our
coach?
favorite?
What coach you like on the Cowboys coaching staff? Who's y'all favorite coach?
Now, you got to be hands down Mike McCarthy right now at this point, right?
No. Everybody loves Dan Quinn.
Oh, Dan Quinn. Okay.
So, what I'm trying to say, I hope Dan Quinn listening. Mr. Dan Quinn, you cannot play favoritism. I keep telling y'all, the kid that we picked up from Philly, the guy stops the run. That's his. I don't need him in there to be a pass rusher. He stops the run. And
appreciate you so much, man.
Back.
Yes, appreciate you, MJ. Thank you so much for calling in with that analysis that I'll talk about what you just said in a few minutes, okay?
All right, brother. Thank you.
We got my next caller, Sam. You're live from the 973. You're live, fam.
Hey, what's going on, Law? I'll be quick. I got 3 quick things.
Go ahead.
So I want to actually just add to, one of the things that add to what Coach Moore was saying about about Kellen's run play calling. It just gets on my nerves. Like, I don't know. Sometimes in life, I gotta accept that like someone's just not very good at their job. And I think Kellen was one of those people because, like, he don't call runs to set up the passing game. He doesn't even call runs to like set up other runs. It's always basically like an 11 slam to the right side, no counters, nothing that's like very imaginative. And it's just like, my one concern about the team is like going into the playoffs, especially if you play Tampa Bay, those coaches will know how to exploit. Because they already said they already were talking trash after week 1. So hopefully they can, get someone to help them with something like that. Because this is like, it doesn't make any sense. Even a kid playing Madden would know, you vary your run play calling, but he just called it a very passive aggressive. I think like boss says it like calls like a quota.
A quota run, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just like, come on. The second thing is with respect to Dak and the interceptions. I'm not like a Dak hater. I'm not like a Dak apologist.
Apologies,
I think some of it, like, in years, like, there's some of this on the receivers, and, like, he tends to do better, to his credit, where you have receivers who actually know how to, like, run precise routes. I think that was, like, the issue, even though Dez was probably still, have some, still some good, run in them when Dak came along. Dez's routes weren't that precise, and so I think part of the reason he clicked so quickly with Amari, and then also with now probably so quickly with Ty, is that they are pretty good route runners, and even CD's routes got better over this season because Dak was throwing interceptions
right
towards the beginning of the year. So I think as we get better route runners, I think those interceptions will go down. And the last thing is, like, what are your thoughts on? I think that, like, we actually had better personnel for a 3-4. What do you think about? Because Micah really is not playing the off-ball linebacker, even though we drafted him as like that.
Right.
And, like, if we we really only have, like, enough rotation for, like, one nose guard and nose tackle, I feel as though, like, our personnel is really more suited towards, like, a 3-4 rather than a 4-3. But I would like to just I would want your thoughts on that.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for calling in. That's Sam, y'all. Sam Rowe. I'm glad he asked that at the end, because that ties into exactly what MJ was saying. What Marv was saying basically is that, yeah, we need to insert Anthony Rush. For those who don't know, he was the guy that we picked up from the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad. He was on the streets, and we brought him in. He's a bigger body. And he also said that, of course, with Dan Quinn's scheme, we're going to have him to stand up. And what scheme are we really running? We run a hybrid look. We do nickel, big nickel, or what have you. But we're not generating enough pressure in the inside. Now, when we talk about will this team benefit from playing a 3-4, we would have to do some wholesale changes. Meaning that, yeah, Big Bo, he can generate some pressure, but it's not on a consistent level. 3-4s are pretty much dominated with a nose guard who can do two gaps, and then they can really, really push the pocket back and maintain his gap's integrity. We don't have that. We got one gap guys. We got one gap guys like the Osa, who's like a Navar Gallimore too, or one gap guys who shoot upfield, kind of like an under tackle a little bit, that their main primary job is to generate pressure, stop the run second. That's just the flow and the nature of those guys. We seen in a situation when Jonathan Hankins, big boy, was out there, we played better against the run. We were able to stop the run from the interior. Now, would Parsons benefit from playing in a 3-4? Yeah. Everything streams out that, hey, he's more of a 3-4 guy if you're going to primarily only utilize Parsons to generate pressure by going at the quarterbacks, by playing outside linebacker. He's not a guy that's going to have hook to flat, that's going to control the hook area, because we don't utilize Parsons to that degree. We using Parsons as an edge rusher, a one-trick pony. At this point, I'm not dogging him. I'm not saying that he can't flip his hips and cover, but that's not how we are utilizing him. So why not put him in a system to benefit what he can do? Right, and there'll be more of a 3-4. But the hybrid look so far for what we are doing been beneficial to us, yes. But in order for us to do a 3-4, we're going to have to do wholesale changes, philosophy changes. Our linebackers got to be bigger collectively, and we will have to draft 2 more linebackers. And on top of that, or go into the free agency next year, or trade room and trade for another linebacker that can fit 3-4. And on top of that, a 3-4 is nothing when you don't have a big boy inside that can consistently generate pressure, that can consistently be that guy that can gobble up and two gap this thing all the way through. So that's just what it is. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. I got Lady Jessica Thomas, and then we got the 361, and then we out of here. Lady Jessica, you're live for the 903.
Hey, everybody. I don't know what's going on. I didn't even know you was live, and I'm off today.
Wow.
So I should have been here, and if I hadn't clicked on YouTube, when I clicked on YouTube, you the first one popped up saying you're live.
Wow.
I said, well, why I didn't get a notification? And I'm a member. And I appreciate that. But anyway, you two playing some kind of game, I guess. I don't know. But we're playing, it's like we out here playing a game of chess. Dak is our king. And the offensive line got to do better by protecting him. People want to talk about him just stand there. Dak never stand there to get a sack. You don't see him moving around. The man was literally being sacked, and he nailed a dime to Gallup. So what are you talking about? I'm so sick and tired. We're tired of explaining to the people. They don't want to believe Law because you know why? They're mad because he stepped up and took one more place. And since then, they have been wanting people that say they're fans, been wanting to Dak to fail so they can say they was right. Just like I said on Sky Show. What? They want him to fail the team to fail so they can say, I told y'all, they ain't going to never be nothing. They ain't going to, yeah, they is. And when they do, hold that Lombardi up, I want them same folks to keep that same energy and don't try to get back on our ship because we don't need fans like that. They are the reason that these commentators feel like they can do this and talk bad about our team because of fans like them. They always quoting what these people, them fans, type of fans say. They never quote what we say.
They never
quote out what we say.
Yeah, there's only a few. Yeah, you're right with that. You know, it's us versus the world.
They got the offensive line got to do better, Law. They have to push forward. They cannot allow them to push them back. We got to be more aggressive on that offensive line, and the coaches got to put our pieces out there that was protecting that. We can't have this switching of route. I understand they want everybody to play, Law, but when you see that is not working, we got to stick with what's working.
No
and
doubt.
I'm glad they're winning. We're 12-4. We're not 4-12. So we need to get this 13-4 and head on into it. And that's what I'm looking for out this game. I don't want to hear nothing about 2022. This 2023. And it's time for everybody to come on because we finna get this victory.
No
It's all
doubt.
about that Lombardi, baby.
Let's get it.
So,
Let me hear you say it.
Have a blessed day. How about them Cowboys? And let's support our team.
How Mama doing? How Mama doing too? Mama doing good?
With y'all. I'm sorry. I didn't even know.
Lady Jessica, how Mama doing? Mama doing good?
Mama is at home. She's out. But, Law, you want to know what happened?
What happened?
God worked a miracle for my mom.
Man.
My mom mouth literally twisted, man. That means she had a stroke. But, you know, I laid my hands on my mom, and I put blessed oil on my mother, and I prayed the prayer, death off of my mom, because my mom's face was sinking in as death was taking off. See, I was a CNA, so I know what death looked like.
Right.
And I began to pray over my mom, and God worked a miracle. She's at home. She's doing well, and they didn't have no sign of stroke. They didn't see no blood. They didn't see no clot or nothing or anything in her heart. Everything is open. Her heart is well. Her body is well.
Hallelujah.
Inside out.
Amen. Amen to that. I appreciate that. Yes, indeed. That Lady Jessica right there. And I'm glad that the moms is okay and everything.
Sacrifice. Don't give up the fight. Everything will be all right on any given Sunday. Yeah.
There's my guy, Uncle Charles. All right, you got Thomas, and then we got the 361, and then we're going to take the kids to the park. I got to go take the kids out to the park on this off day. You're live, Thomas. You're live.
Yeah, all right. This is Thomas Williams. People in the chat asked me to call in, so I show up.
Yes, you show up.
So
talk to me.
am.
Yeah, talk to me.
Yes, indeed. And yes, and great news there for Lady Jess's mother. So that's wonderful news. God bless her and her family.
Amen.
And just to kind of give, you know, a little background as far as my Cowboys fandom. I've been a Cowboys fan for 40 plus years. Okay, so I'm an OG when it comes to this. That's my team. That's who I've always rooted for. Nobody else. Okay.
Right.
I love Dak Prescott. I'm a Dak Prescott fan, but I love hard. Okay. So forgive me if I have a little impatience with this new breed of Cowboys and to some degree Cowboys fandom. Okay. I am not about excuses.
Right.
At the end of the day, because I see what's happening with Dak Prescott. He's not being coached properly, and he's having his butt kissed by his coaches the same way that some of these fans are kissing his butt, and he's not being challenged to be great. That's what I see happening, and that's why I get so upset about it. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to get the job done, okay? I see these when I hear guys like you compare, you know, make these excuses that are related to Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman, I personally don't want to hear it. He doesn't even belong in that discussion.
Well. Just for context, though, when I made that comparisons, it's not like it was off basis because when you look at the numbers, they are mirroring each other, right? Yes or no?
Well, it doesn't matter. You know why? Peyton Manning is a Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, NFL MVP. End of story.
And he wasn't that his fifth year. He wasn't that his sixth year. He wasn't there his seventh year. Yes, he is that now. But yeah, it's hard to compare somebody's chapter 13 to someone's chapter 1. But what I'm trying to tell people is not put the book down when it's on chapter 6. We're still reading. You're still reading the chapter. And I'm trying to let people know that from what I can see is that there are still possibilities for him to lift up that Lombardi trophy up as well. I don't want to be the person that say it's not.
He's going to have to do it.
He's going to have to do it. Yeah.
All you have to do is say, watch then. We don't need the excuses because at the end of the day, when he shows up against the San Francisco 49ers, they don't give a damn about what Peyton Manning did back in 2007.
True.
None of that nonsense. What matters is what you're going to do on that football field today. So that's why I say
right. But just for Thomas, but for reference though. Their fan base is not whining and crying. They've been on a 28-year drought too, just as long as we have. Well, you know, it's been 27 years for us. You can add on a year for them for 28 years. And granted, just like you said that there should be no excuses, they've been to the Super Bowl 3 or 2 times, and they laid out there on the ground because I got my brother who's a diehard 49er fan, by the way, who was stretched out. And I get it. I don't want to be at that moment. Yes, we grade this team hard, but from a Cowboy fan base, just like you said about when you was rooting for the Cowboys, you didn't know how much Drew Pearson was making. You didn't, know how much Roger Staubach was making. That wasn't on the forefront of everything about Ed Too Tall and what he was making and all of those boys.
You know why I didn't care? Number one, it wasn't the kind of money that it is today, but that's beside the point. They were delivering, okay? If Dak Prescott goes out and does what he's supposed to do with the team that he has, then you won't hear a word from me. But the bottom line is, if you demand $40 million a year, and yes, it's relevant. So for those fans who try to say don't count their money, I'm sorry. First of all, I've been a fan for over 40 years. Some of my money is in there too. Okay?
Right,
because
true that.
I've been supporting this team for most of my life. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there's a salary cap. Okay, so the money is relevant. The more money you pay per player X, the less you have to pay player Y. That's just the way it goes. So the day that they stop having a salary cap is the day that I'm going to stop talking about the money.
I feel you on that. You have a right. Okay? You have a right to have that stance on that. But when we make it about the money, well, why don't all of the other 31 other teams bring up the money? We the only ones that expound on it. Well, we are the only ones. Hold on. Did they hesitate to pay any other? Look, did they hesitate? Hold on, excuse me. Did they hesitate to pay Josh Allen? Did they hesitate to pay Carson Wentz? Did they hesitate to pay?
Josh Allen has delivered more than Dak Prescott
before or after his money. You see, that's just the reality of it. That's just the reality of it. All right, so let me ask you this. Did Josh Allen arrive to the scene before or after Stephon Diggs? Did they sit there and say, okay, let's not have these weapons for Josh Allen?
It doesn't matter. Dak Prescott has had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. So come on, man.
Wait a minute. So you are expecting the same results without the same recipe. That's not a fair and reasonable
argument. What's wrong with
argument.
The recipe? What I see this Purdy kid, Mr. Irrelevant, okay? They put him in there with a team around him, and the kid is balling.
Right, and he really struggled last. He really struggled last game. They only have a sample size on the Brock Purdy. So you willing to give Brock Purdy $40 million just off of the few games that you just seen?
My point is, Dak Prescott has been rewarded as a franchise quarterback, and I believe that he is. So I expect him to deliver as such. Period. Okay. I need to see him get it done. I'm tired of these stupid-ass interceptions that make no sense, and I don't think anybody on that sideline is telling him from a coaching standpoint, hey, dude, we can't have that. Okay, that kind of interception right there will get your ass beat in the playoffs, and you are a veteran franchise quarterback. I don't need you making those throws. You're not a rookie. You're not a second-year player.
I'm going to tell you this. News flash. We would never have that type of coach there when you have the owner by the name of Jerry Wayne Jones who defies that type of talk and that type of belittling of his star-studded players. You just don't have it, because when we had that under Jimmy Johnson, who said that he was willing to bench Troy Aikman, and Jerry Jones went on national TV and media and said, oh, Troy will start, so you got to understand that if you're going to do comparisons and analysis, if you're going to try to say one thing is to fit all for others, that's not happening, Thomas. You know that.
But
you know
can't
that.
use that. How are you using that as an excuse for Dak Prescott?
It's not an excuse for Dak Prescott.
Team around him. His owner is a meddler.
So Noah Brown was going to catch everything that thrown to him by Dak Prescott. Noah Brown is that dude. Or they're just excuses.
Who are the players? Who are the wide receivers for Patrick Mahomes? Okay. I mean, he's making these guys. He's elevating them. And here is the key thing that I'll tell you where I know for a fact what Dak Prescott is capable of. When he threw that pick six in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, he came out like his ass was on fire after that. You know why? He had a sense of urgency. He knew that we were going to crucify him if he lost that game, okay? He came out and played the way we've been saying that Dak Prescott should play. He was running. He used his legs. He had a sense of urgency. He elevated that team. And I said, that's the Dak Prescott that I recall.
That's the Dak Prescott you recall. So with that being said, I'm glad that you brought up the mighty Pat Mahomes and all what he does from his accolades and what he brings to the table. Now, he do got a Super Bowl under his belt, and I'm not here to discount that at all. Pat Mahomes is marvelous and good at what he do. And he wanted to hold on. He's one of the better throwers of the ball in the National Football League, right? Right? But let me know when the 3-letter and the 4-letter network talk about his bevies of INTs. And excuse me, hold on. When? Show me when they talk about him being a turnover machine and by him laying down like Family Guy in that playoff game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. When?
Are you listening to anything other than Cowboys content?
Why don't you lean forward just a little bit?
Mahomes is the most disrespected great quarterback in the history of this game.
Why don't you lean forward a bit?
Patrick Mahomes never gets the respect that he deserves, and he ain't even asking for it. He just goes out there and balls. He gets it done. Dak Prescott does not belong in the same sentence with Patrick Mahomes. I don't even know why you continue to do that. It's not the same thing. Patrick Mahomes is a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, getting ready to be 2-time. Dak Prescott can't.
So already you putting Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, finna be a 2-time Super Bowl champ, right? Already.
No, I said
getting ready to be. So there was no excuses for him last year. What was the excuses for Pat Mahomes? Hold on, let me talk right now. Now you finna listen to your father speak to you. What?
No. I'm the daddy here, young man. I'm the father here.
And as old and gray as you are, now you finna listen to some wisdom. Now what I'm telling you right now is that. And take these licks right here, because there was no excuses for when Pat Mahomes gave up that touchdown or gave up that lead versus the Cincinnati. I haven't seen pundits and critics ridicule and cast aspersions on Pat Mahomes losing that game in the playoff. So now when you call it to my show, you're going to listen to your father. Now you may speak.
Yeah, okay. So mute me so you can get that out. But, hey, I'm the elder here, young man, and I back it up with what I say. Patrick, if you'll recall, when they were asking primetime Deion Sanders who was the fastest out of him and Tyreek Hill, and Deion just looked at him, and this is how you understand when you're speaking to your elders. Deion looked at him, and he said, I'm sorry, I'm prime. I'm sorry, I can't even hear what you're saying. And his point was, you're talking to the greatest cornerback that ever played in the history of the game, Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion, the greatest thing you ever seen, and you're going to ask me about some Tyreek Hill, okay? So Dak Prescott does not belong in a conversation with Patrick Mahomes.
According to who? According to your belief.
Walk around with their chest out like they accomplished something, and they ain't done a damn thing. Dak hasn't done anything yet. Okay? He doesn't get to be in that conversation. That's how you make people earn their way. You don't just start making excuses and kissing these guys' asses and protecting them. You go out like a dog and you earn it like everybody before you. Troy Aikman got his ass knocked all over the place when he was a rookie, and he had to earn his. So now he's a main man.
Troy Aikman. How many playoff games did he win without Emmett? How many playoff games did he win without the playmaker? Hold on. You try to make it an individual sport. You try to make it an individual sport, and it never been that way. I had to put the man on mute. Yes, everybody got good points. Everybody want to push everything to the table. But let me know what playmaker made plays last time we was in the playoff. Let me know what other guy who stood tall. Oh, excuse me, there was only one guy that was out there making plays or trying to make plays. And granted, hear me out. That was the third year ever we heard from Kellen Moore calling plays in the National Football League. Y'all got to temper y'all expectations regardless of the situation. I don't think that we're looking at other teams around the NFL who have the expectations. And I know it sounds like bevies of excuses. I don't see another team in the National Football League that said, okay, we're going to take a third year ever play caller and we're going to put him in this team and make sure that he going to be the one that calls up and dial up plays to win the Super Bowl. Come on, man. Where y'all getting this from? Where y'all getting this from? Lean forward with all of that wisdom that you said. Won't you start a YouTube channel then or start a content creation channel and talk about that stuff? Let me go on to the next caller. 361, you're live. You're live. You're live. 361. Like I said before, it is easier. It is flat out easier to say that the Cowboys will not win the Super Bowl, will not win the playoff versus the latter. It is absolute easier to sit back on a hill to say that the Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen. That is the quote-unquote Stephen A. philosophy that it will rain when it will rain. Trust and believe. I can be right. There will be some rain 10 days from now. It will snow somewhere on this plane. Don't y'all get? That is what the national media is saying, and people like Thomas. People like him will say, yeah, I'm a diehard Cowboy fan. And I believe it than the Cowboys. But they also leave out the other possibilities that there are so many hands in this. There are so many people that would refuse to listen to the truth and stand tall on the hill of thinking that the Cowboys had every right and every chance to win just as many Super Bowls with any other team than any other team with Jason Garrett. When we literally seen year after year after year that a head coach is learning on the job, is still figuring out ways for maybe next year. And I know I get it. It will sound like bevies of excuses, but when you don't contextualize it everything, then you will sit back and say to yourself a few years later, you say, you know what? Damn, Law was right. Because when that Jason Garrett, that same guy that was the head coach here, went over to Giants, them jokers as the offensive coordinator only averaged 17 points a game. And that was the guy that we were leaning on for at least 9 to 10 years to win us the Super Bowl. And the Giants had to let him go. And let me know, if coaching don't matter, let me know what the Giants are going to play at in a few weeks in the playoff. Y'all been listening to so much of this bull sugar stuff. I'm going to tell y'all this too. As much as people talk about how great Pat Mahomes is, and I'm not taking that away from Pat Mahomes. Like I said, he is phenomenal as it relates to what he can do out there on the field. I love his skill set. But when y'all look at these numbers, and I'm talking about numbers now, and I know that a lot of people, when I say that stats and these sorts of things, comparison is the thief of all joy, this is a great analysis right here. A great one. 4,839 yards, right? 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. All right, so when your starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, who literally came back from a compound fractured bone piercing through the ankle. I don't think that Pat Mahomes ever had that type of injury. But if these two guys are not in the same conversation, and especially if you contextualize, we had Kellen Moore, who was his 3rd season ever calling plays. 3rd season. Compared to Andy Reid and those boys. Let me pull up what he had over here. Let's go back to 2021. Oh, 37 touchdowns. And that's missing the game, by the way. 4,449 yards with 10 touchdowns. But for Dak Prescott, what people like to do, since they really don't like the Cowboys, and since they really sully and denigrate the Cowboys, and they listen to the 3 and the 4 Ladder Network, they will say to themselves, those numbers are not the same. Y'all continue to pick up the goalposts and move said goalposts. And I'm not crucifying Kellen Moore, by the way. I think that the kid is very brilliant. I think that the kid is wonderful. Matter of fact, let me pull up one of the greatest quarterbacks of all times, Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? Who had the 3rd-ranked defense in 2000 last year, by the way, who had the 3rd-ranked defense, the number 1 seed in the National Football League. Yes, his numbers were very comparable to him as well. But what people would do, it's been 13 to 14 years since this dude made any noise in the playoff, been to the Super Bowl, but y'all would give this man the bevy of excuses, and y'all would say that the same team that we played, the 49ers, that we lost to, he lost to the same team at home, at the crib, with the number 1 seed through a worse QBR. But all of a sudden, it ain't Aaron Rodgers' fault. But if it was Dak Prescott, it was Dak Prescott's fault. Who had, dare I say, for the Green Bay Packers, had the best wide receiver in the National Football League, Devontae Adams. Who had a top 3 or a top 4 running back out of Aaron Jones. It had the number 3 defense. We don't even have the number 3 defense now. But y'all will refuse to listen to the truth. And as old and great as he said Thomas is, we got the same name. Maybe he is my grandfather, but he learned something today. He learned something today that I ain't the one. Because you can't throw half-hearted stuff out there and say, yeah, I'm a fan at the end. I digress. That's been my time, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all for tuning in, but continue. There is an easier approach to say that the Cowboys will not win the Super Bowl this year, in the next year, in the following year, juxtaposed to saying that they will win. As good as Tom Landry is, let me pull up this music right now. The greatest coach of all time that ever rocked with the Cowboys, Tom Landry. How many seasons Tom Landry been here? How many? Can somebody put that down? How many years Tom Landry was coaching for the Dallas Cowboys? I wanna win this debate with facts. How many seasons he's been here? Can somebody put that down? Thomas, since you old and great, and since you know all these football things, for 29 years, somebody put down 30. There were 28 disappointments. 28 disappointments. The greatest coach of all time only gave us 2 Super Bowl rings. And y'all, with y'all mindset and knowledge and wisdom of understanding of football, were expecting Jason Garrett to at least win you one. Y'all were expecting Mike McCarthy to get here in his 2nd year to win you one. Things that the great Tom Landry couldn't do in 30 years. Y'all are literally expecting Mike McCarthy to do things that the great Jimmy Johnson couldn't do. It took him more than 2 years. Those are the realities of it. I can only imagine if the fickle fans are who they are during the time frame of Tom Landry. Y'all will be going back and forth for 30 years. 30 years. and say that, hey, you know, this dude, he can't win them all. He's Mr. Plastic. This tape is dope. Yes, they got the Legion of Doom, but this team is dope. Nobody have faith in this team. I can only imagine if they had Twitter, Facebook, YouTube during that time frame. Roger, he need to go back to the military. He ain't Captain America. Maybe he need to do what the guy that played football for the Jets, I forgot his name. Maybe he do need to have multiple women and sleep around with them instead of being true to one. The expectations, when it meets the reality, the truth of the fact of it is that it don't take one person. You see, I like the way he brought up Patrick Mahomes, who is a great player, by the way. But he probably can't even remember the running back in that game. He can't remember what the defense did. But he remembered the quarterback of winning that Super Bowl. For 2 years in a row, the number one seed been the Green Bay Packers. And they've been one and done, basically. No one brings that up. But for Doggett, they will bring in what the Cowboys do. Don't nobody crucify our own, but like we do our own. It was Joe Namath. Appreciate y'all. That's why I tell people, if you want a thing bad enough to go out there and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all of your desires of it makes you quite mad enough that you don't get tired of it, and it makes you and you hold all other things tawdry and cheap. If life itself seems empty and useless without it, and all that you scheme and dream is about it, if you'll gladly go out there and sweat for it, fret for it, and plan for it, and lose all terror of your mind for it. If you would simply go after the thing you want with all of your capacity, strength, and sagacity, with faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity. If neither cold, poverty, or famish, or fame, or sickness, or body, or brain can turn you away from the thing you want. If dogged and grim and besieged and beset it, with the help of Almighty, you will get it. See, a lot of people, the enemy, love to shout out to the high heavens your pitfalls and whisper your success. They do that all the time. On top of that, a man coming back from a broken thumb for you guys to make the comparisons and analysis of someone who didn't break their hand. All this says, and somebody who didn't play for a single thread of a preseason game. Look at y'all expectations for this man, this brother, to be out here and be of the same, to have, dare I say, over 20 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, to be 8-2, but for y'all to lay it down and say, well, Lord, he shouldn't have those excuses. Well, let me ask you, if you broke your hand and you are out there on the field without playing a thread of a preseason game, for them to hold your feet and hold you accountable to all of the other quarterbacks that's out there who went through all of the regular seasons and all of that. Let me start that thing back over again. Play that back over again, because I'm fired up right now. I know some people right now that hurt their pinky. Probably jammed it in the door. Take weeks off for work. Not even bone is broken. But for the Cowboys player, for us to think, to have the gratitude to say that Noah Brown, and I'm not sullying or denigrating Noah Brown or Peyton Hendershot or any of those guys, Michael Gallup coming off of an ACL injury, for us to literally see this with our eyes, that those guys are clawing to be back in the league, especially my guy Michael Gallup, to hold the same levels of expectations that he is equivalent to what T. Higgins is doing over there, for him to be equivalent to what Devontae Smith is doing over there at the Eagles, A.J. Brown. For us to say, hey, it's all the same, Lord. No, it's not. We are 12-4, and people are whining and crying about a quarterback that's 8-2 since his return of a broken thumb, that his his hand never was broken, that he should be hitting these wide receivers on the scene, who he never threw the ball to in preseason. Threw this man into midseason and said, hey, have a midseason outcome. We win the game and y'all still complain. We lose the game, it's the end of the world. Christ is coming back. The fourth horse of the apocalypse is riding you over the airways. I can't make this stuff up. Justin Day, this is all year. Happy New Year, Law. DC for life, peeps. Out here, F you haters. I can't make this stuff up. People will believe and people will love the Niners more than what they see out of us. They will love the Eagles. Cowboys people will love any other team, but not believing on their own team. I can't make this stuff up. What about when you're up against the struggles? Write this down. You may learn something, Thomas. Meet it squarely face to face. Lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, and take a brace. When it's vain to try to dodge it, do the best that you can do. You may fall, you may conquer. See that thing all the way through, and that's what we've been doing. Black may be the clouds about you, and your future may seem grim. But don't let your nerve desert you. Keep yourself in fighting trim. That's what we've been doing, 8-2. Even hope may seem then with trouble. But remember, you facing what other legends have met. Keep your head high, eyes through the finish, see this thing all the way through. Cowboy Nation, that's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Roll those credits. Now we want to count how much money these guys are making. Yo.
Nowadays, nothing really excites me. Only one of me and nobody's like me. Phone ringing and I tell them
I fight more Cowboy fans than Eagle fans. I fight more Cowboy fans than Giants fans. I fight more Cowboy fans than Washington fans. I'm quite sure that one of y'all got kids out there that maybe not be that tough, but you push them. Let's go. I'm quite sure that the Niners community is not reaching for Jimmy Garoppolo. They're not saying that, hey, Trey Lance, when he coming back, they rally, they surround their number 3 quarterback. They lift up their quarterback. They lift up their defensive coordinator. They lift up their team. We sully, denigrate. We say, hey, there should be no excuses for our team. Well, what were the excuses for the Chiefs last year? What were the excuses for the Bills? Matter of fact, what were the excuses for the Cincinnati Bengals? What were the excuses for the Ravens? What were the excuses for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season? What were the excuses for, dare I say, the Green Bay Packers, the number 1 seed in the National Football League, with the best quarterback God ever created, according to most, with the number 1 wide receiver in the National League? What were their excuses? Why is it all of a sudden that the Cowboys, we got to generate and fabricate excuses? Can somebody help the nation out? We fight our own. We sully and denigrate our own. We spit upon our own. Name me a team that got rid of their number 1 wide receiver or number 2 wide receiver and didn't replace them until week 16, week 17. Name me that team. Oh, it's the Cowboys. I'm going to take these kids to the park, man. Name me the team. Name me the team that got their number 1 running back versus their number 2 running back. Name me the team that fight amongst themselves amongst who the running back. Name me the team that said that CD Lamb, he ain't a number 1 all year. Name me the team.
Take a drag of my cigarette. Breathe me out, breathe you in.
Name me the team.
Take a bite of my burger, babe. Save the last bite for.
Name me the team that lost their offensive line, Tyron Smith. That lost their right tackle, Terrence Steele. That lost their center.
You know it's dangerous to go alone.
Name me that team that's 12-4.
Can I be your player too?
Name me the team that lost their linebacker.
Wherever you go, whatever you do, player too. 7 years of imperfect love, 7 more and another one, and another one. Fighting you was the one I loved.
Put some flashes on this thing.
7 wonders all in one,
Right about now.
all in one. Don't let the street lights.
Yeah, lost the quarterback too. Both of them. Name me that team that lost their starting outside corner and their starting nickel corner. I can't find that team. Don't y'all know that if we were 4-12, it would have been the same exact same strap of criticism.
If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on.
And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go.
You have to be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who you're going to be, who you're going to be, who you're going to be.